Versus Thompson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Gibbs, the defendant's daughter, I assume this young lady.
Yes.
Is a babysitter for you.
Briefly, yes.
And your lawsuit wants her parents to pay for the following, because she's a minor.
Correct.
She ran up a phone bill from your house? Mm-hmm. So you want them to pay for the phone bill?
Correct.
And you want a return of the money that you paid her for babysitting?
Yes.
Because you say she was not a good babysitter.
Not exactly because she wasn't a good one, but more or less she was not attending to them.
Okay, that's your lawsuit. The Thompsons have a counterclaim, and the Thompsons want you to pay more for babysitting, because they say that you owe their daughter for babysitting. And they say that they also want punitive damages because they say that you were a bad influence on their daughter, which they will explain to me. So let's see where we can fix some responsibility here. What is your first name?
Clarissa.
When did Clarissa start to babysit for you?
Early February. I probably have an exact date in my calendar. Yeah, early February, like around the 9th, I believe, is the first time she babysat for me.
And how did you find her?
They lived above me in the apartment complex and had talked about babysitting and asked her to come over a few times prior to that.
Who did you talk to?
Clarissa.
Directly?
Yes.
So that all the arrangements that you made were with Clarissa?
Yes, ma'am.
And you arranged a fee?
Yes. After about a week or so, we decided that I would just go ahead and give her $30 a week because I was using her for an hour here, an hour there during the week.
So far, Clarissa, is that correct, that she was going to pay you $30 a week?
No, it is not.
Well, what was she supposed to pay you?
Well, she agreed to pay me $20 every time I babysat for her, which led to almost every day.
Really? $20 a day, even if you only babysat for an hour?
It was more than an hour. I would stay overnight sometimes because she would come home so late.
So starting the beginning of February, she started to babysit for you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right, Clarissa?
Yes, I started February 12th, actually.
Okay. Did she babysit for you in March?
Yes, she did.
Is that right, Clarissa?
Yes.
And you got paid?
Not really. She only paid me like once, and that was $60.
In all the time that you babysat for her?
Yes, only $60.
Really?
Yes.
What about April? Did she babysit for you?
No, ma'am. I received my first phone bill on March 24th.
And that's when you stopped the babysitting?
Actually, I had stopped babysitting about a week prior to that. I had come home and my 2-year-old had burned a popsicle stick on the stove. He said he was cooking it.
Okay. And how many weeks in total had she babysat for you?
Approximately 4 or 5.
How many weeks?
6.
Let's go through your book and figure out exactly how many weeks she babysat for you.
Would you like the book?
Yeah.
I didn't write down always when she babysat. I know I have the first few times written down.
She babysat every week for you after you hired her. She babysat for you for 5 weeks. Now, according to you, you were supposed to pay her $30 a week.
February 22nd was the first time I gave her $30. So I would imagine it would have been the first part of that week that we had made that agreement.
Well, then it's 4 weeks.
Okay, so
4
it's about a
weeks
week.
times 30 is $120. Now, how much had you actually paid her?
I've actually paid $140 because of the time prior to that.
So according to your records, you're all paid up.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, tell me about the phone bill.
Clarissa would use the phone when she babysat, and from the very beginning I told her I did not have a problem with her using the phone, not to make long-distance calls. I'm a single mother. I don't have means to pay for long-distance. I don't use long-distance myself. I received my first bill on March 24th, I believe it was, that I put on there, and the long-distance charges for that month were $308.40.
Who were you calling, Clarissa?
It was an ex-boyfriend of mine at the time.
Did you know that that was the wrong thing to do?
When I first started babysitting for her, she told me that I had all privileges of the phone. She never told me not to make long-distance calls.
Well, did you make those long-distance calls in your own house?
Sometimes.
What do you mean sometimes?
Well,
did you ever get a phone bill for $300 a month?
No, ma'am.
No, of course not. Don't fool around with me, Clarissa. Don't fool around with me. Okay, so that's $308. Was that the total phone bill?
No, then I received one in mid-April for $31 in long distance, $87 in collect calls, and...
Was the boyfriend making collect calls to you?
No, he always called me direct.
So nobody called you collect?
No.
Does this have the number of the...
Yes, it does.
Is it the same number that she
No,
called?
ma'am, it's not. It's a Fresno number. When I asked Clarissa, have you been accepting collect calls from this number. And she says, no, I haven't, no, I haven't. And I have here $85 in collect calls.
Well, she says she doesn't know whose those are, but it really doesn't make any difference.
They're not mine.
Let's say they're Clarissa's. Why should her parents be responsible for that?
Because she's a minor.
No, you're responsible for it. And I'm going to tell you why you're responsible for it. Because you have a mechanism where you can put on your phone a block so that you can't make long-distance calls.
I've never had a need for that.
Well, of course
I make long-distance occasionally.
Let me explain something to you. Your business arrangement was never with Clarissa's parents. Your business arrangement was with Clarissa. And if you want to ensure that things in your house are not abused, you have to take steps to do that. Her parents can't come into your house and do that. You have to do that. They are not responsible for the long-distance call made by their daughter in your house. You're responsible. You have to be prudent and vigilant, make sure that the phone isn't used, put the phone away, lock up the phone, disconnect the phone, do whatever you want to do with it. But there is no way that you are going to hold the Thompsons responsible for her calls that she made.
I had
not going to happen.
The agreement with her mother at one time, though, Your Honor.
I don't care whether you discussed an agreement with her mother or not. They're not responsible. You're responsible because they have no ability to see to it that in your house the phone isn't abused. They know how to do it in their house because her mother wouldn't tolerate it. Right?
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You think you're entitled to more money?
Well, yes.
Really? How much do you think she owes you?
Well, see...
Give me an idea.
I say about over 600.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robbie Gibbs says former babysitter 16-year-old Clarissa Thompson ran up her phone bill with long-distance phone calls. Clarissa says Robbie still owes her money.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, he would call her directly when I was there.
So?
So I never had any clue that she was calling him or making
Neither did her
calls.
mother. Neither did her mother. You want to take care of your phone? Lock it in your drawer. It's not a mother's fault. And you'll know better next time. You hire a babysitter, you take out the phone. Or you put a block on it. You say you can't make long-distance calls. That's it. It's not legally responsible. And I can't find that her parents are responsible because you have the responsibility of ensuring that when you hire a teenage babysitter and you know that they sit on the phone and they can sit on the phone for hours, you make sure that they can't get to your phone. All right. Now, you want to tell me why you think you're entitled to any money back from the money that you paid her for babysitting?
Because she wasn't babysitting. She would go in my room and shut the door and use the phone. I came home on an occasion when that happened.
When was the first time you came home and found her?
It was about 2 weeks before I had her quit babysitting, and I told her she was not welcome at my home anymore. Her mother came down. We talked about it. Her mother assured me that it would not happen again. The following week is when I came home and my son had been burning a popsicle stick.
So? Then you fired her.
And then I fired her. Yes.
So why do you think you're entitled to anything back?
I just put it in there because I thought that I paid her for services that were not rendered.
You should have been more vigilant. If I came home and found my 2 babies weren't being cared for by a babysitter, I would say, thank you very much. I'm paying you for the day. You're not welcome back here anymore.
Which is what I did.
No.
And then her mother
you had a
came down and
conversation
spoke
with
with
her
me.
mother, and her mother assured you it wasn't going to happen again. Come on. Get real. All right. Now let's get to your counterclaim, if you're serious about it. You think you're entitled to more money?
Well, yes.
Really? Why don't you tell me why you think you're entitled to more money?
Well, because I did babysit for the kids, you know, like, because most of the time she was barely in there. She'd send her oldest son to come get me at 6:30 after she got off work, and then she'd be gone all night.
How much do you think she owes you for babysitting?
Well, see...
Give me an idea.
I say about over 600, but
Really? You think over $600?
yes,
Really? And you babysat for her each and every week,
yes.
and you accepted the money she gave you, and you didn't say to her, no, you owe me more than $30 a week. I'm not taking the $30. You came back and you babysat for her again, another
Yep.
week, and then another week, and then another week.
She kept promising me, oh, I have to go to the bank, oh, I haven't got my check yet, or I haven't cashed it. That's what she had kept telling me, so...
So I'm just going to sit on the phone and talk to my boyfriend. Forget any more money. Chalk it up to the time that you were sitting on the phone in the bedroom, chewing the fat with the boyfriend. You got me?
Yes.
Perfect. Is there anything else you want to tell me about your counterclaim?
Yes, ma'am. I was suing her for punitive damage because, actually, I don't want to do this.
Smart. Smart. It's her responsibility to take care of her phone. It's your daughter's responsibility to do the right thing if she's babysitting. I'm sure that you've had a chat with her about abusing the privilege of somebody else's phone. I have a feeling you have.
Yes, I have.
Okay. All right, Miss Gibb. Next time, you just be a little more careful, madam. That's all.
Pardons are excused. You may step out.
I was pretty upset.
I'm very sorry for Mrs. Gibbs, and I hope that she get her life together.
She said that she had permission. Her parents said, no, you didn't have permission.
They both played on the telephone.
Not to let teenagers babysit anymore.
Not to babysit for people like her again.
This is case number 434 on the calendar in the matter of Ayala versus Bianchi. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
How old are you, Miss Ayala?
I just turned 21.
And you?
19.
And you have a baby.
Yes, ma'am.
How old is your child?
2.5.
So you had this child when you were 17?
I was 16, turning 17.
And the father of this child is one Joey.
Yes, ma'am.
And you had a boyfriend whose name just happens to be Joey.
Yes.
One and the same.
Yeah.
Where is Joey today?
He's not present.
Of course not. Miss Ayala, you claim that Miss Bianchi, in a little bit of a hissy fit, damaged your car by kicking it.
Yeah.
Miss Bianchi says, while you had a fight, she may have hit you, but she certainly didn't kick your car.
No, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm serious. Where is Joey? I mean, is he
He's-
working today? Is he...
He's watching
No.
my child, his son.
He's babysitting.
Yes, ma'am.
He managed to get time off from his job?
No, he doesn't work.
You want to tell me what happened, Miss Ayala?
Yeah, it all started when me and my boyfriend were driving in my car.
Your boyfriend, Joey.
My boyfriend Joey were driving in my car. And then she started following us. And she wanted me to get out of my car, and I didn't want to step out of my car.
Well, you stopped your car.
Well, Joey was driving.
So Joey stopped the car.
Yeah, Joey stopped the car. We went to his grandma's house so his mom could come out and make her stop following us.
She followed you to the grandmother's house.
Yeah, and he honked for her to come out. And then that's when Lisa ran out of her car, kicked my car, and that's when I got out of my car. And then I was going to close my door, and that's when she kicked my car again. And that's when she tried to tackle me to the floor. And we just started fighting until his mom and him pulled her off of me.
Now I'll hear your version.
It was Thanksgiving morning. The whole reason why we were fighting, I had informed him that I was pregnant again. And we were in the process of supposedly working things out. So later on that night, my friend who was dating his cousin had called me and informed me that he was with her, Lorena, in front of his grandmother's house in her car. So I drove over there.
Why?
Just see what's going on. I told him I was pregnant, find out if he's with her. We were supposedly working things out. So I went, I found them there. She was sitting in her back seat of her car, putting on her shirt. He was sitting in her driver's seat, just with his tank top on. And I had asked her, I'm like, oh, so you guys just got done, you know, having sex.
Doing the nasty.
Yeah. And she's like, yes, I asked her, I'm like, you guys just got done having sex? And, well, not in those words, but, and she's like, oh, yeah, we were. And he wasn't saying anything. He was sitting there. You know, he knew he was caught.
Because he's a moron.
Yeah, exactly. He knew he was caught.
He's a moron who doesn't have a 2-year-old child that's going to be around forever and isn't pregnant again.
Yes.
Right? You're that moron. He's
Yes.
the other moron.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Me and her had words. We were both sitting in our car. I was sitting in my driver's seat. We both got out of the car at the same time and went at each other. And we're fighting for about maybe 2-3 minutes until Joey came, pulled me off of her. His aunt and his mom were then holding me back. He was holding her back.
Let me see damage to the car.
And they weren't holding me back. Just when she let me go, I let her go.
Did you ever hear of birth control?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, why don't you use it?
Oh, I am now.
Very good. So you're making $35,000 a year. You have your own apartment. You have your own car. You have your baby taken care of. Your child is in school. You have a good job. You got your GED. You
And
finished
you're
your
married.
education. What's the matter?
And you're married.
And you're yeah. Oh, please. That would be terrific. That would be frosting on the cake. Did you try to get out these dents? Is that what these little holes things
No.
are that you tried to get out the
No,
dents?
I didn't try to do anything. I haven't done anything. And I went to go get estimate.
I'd see the estimates.
The top one is the one where my Nissan dealer told me to go to, and that's the one I'm taking.
Top one is the cheapest one, $1,513. Is that right?
Yeah, that's where my Nissan dealer
Miss
told me to go.
Bianchi, let me tell you sometimes what temper does. When you have a temper, you have to pay for it. This didn't happen to her car from nothing.
I understand.
Now, I don't care if this happened to her car as a result of the two of you struggling with each other and falling into the car, although that's not what this looks like.
No,
this
we
looks
didn't,
like a
we
kick.
didn't even come in contact with her car.
That's not true. No, we didn't. You did.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It wasn't my intention to go and fight her.
Well, why didn't you just wait until he got finished and
I
call
wanted
him on
to
the
catch
phone?
him. I wanted to catch him.
Well, you caught him.
Yeah, I caught him.
And later today,
The dog comes running through my yard with teeth and everything and starts fighting Chrissy. Ripped her ear. There was blood every place.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lorena Ayala says the mother of her ex-boyfriend's child, Lisa Bianchi, vandalized her vehicle. Lisa says she caught the father of her child and Lorena having sex in a parked car.
Miss Bianchi, you were so furious that day, which is why when I read your answer and you said you found out after Joey had been at your house and had talked the day before about getting back together again, blah, 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 somebody calls you up and said, you know where Joey is? Joey's over at our house. You get in the car. Where'd you put your baby when you got into the car?
He was at home with my mother.
Your mother takes care of your baby?
Oh, no, ma'am.
Well, what were you doing at home with your mother?
I lived there.
Well, so you left your mother to take care of your baby.
I asked her if she can take care of him, yes.
So you could go out and take care of this problem.
No, it wasn't my intention to go and fight her. It was my intention to go there and find out what was he doing with her. If he was with her, then why is he, you know...
Well, why didn't you just wait until he got finished and
I
call
wanted
him
to
on the
catch
phone?
him. I wanted to catch him. So,
Well, you caught him.
Yeah, I caught him.
You caught him.
Yeah.
And once you caught him, then your adrenaline started to rush. That you have to pay for, Miss Bianchi. Are you expecting this other baby?
No, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,513.73. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's been with me. We're not together, but I'm always going to be there. We'll communicate. He's the father of my child.
I was in the back seat, he was driving in the front seat.
Why would she be in the back seat? She was putting on her clothes.
I'm not going to be with them no more.
Don't fight over a guy anymore. They're not worth it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Spear versus Green. Step forward, please.
22-year-old waitress Jamie Spear is suing the father of her child, 20-year-old Job Corps worker Antoine Green, for the cost to fix her car. Jamie says Antoine caused her to crash into a telephone pole.
Miss Spear, you and the defendant have a child in common, and it is your claim that the defendant caused your car to be totaled.
Yes, ma'am.
You were driving the car, but his actions caused your car to be totally wrecked. The defendant says that it was your fault, that you were arguing with him, and you had no business driving anyway because your license was suspended. Is that your defense, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
How old is the child that you share?
2 years old.
Now, what was he doing in your car?
Okay, he went to Job Corps about a year ago. He just got back and he just got a job. This is the first job he's had in going on 2 years. So this is the first real child support.
You went to Job Corps?
Yes.
What did you do in Job Corps?
I took up a trade, brick mason.
And you came back and got a job as a brick mason?
No, I came back and got a job as, I'm working for the city of Winston-Salem right now.
Go ahead.
Okay, he called me that day because he was getting off work early. He wanted me to take him to cash his first check. And I agreed. And so being this his first check...
Okay, so far, was that your first check that you were getting from your job that day, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you ask her to come and pick you up?
Yes.
Okay, so I picked him up and he wanted me to go to cash his check, and we're on the way, and we decided that we weren't going to go through the court system to get child support. He wanted a chance to just give me money or pay for her. And so I asked for $40 a week. As we're going to go cash the check, I said, okay, this is what I want from you. Mind you, I haven't had any child support up until now. So he started telling me that he wasn't giving me money for me to go partying with or to waste and spend on myself. And it hurt me because I've been doing all this by myself. So that started a heated argument. And we started arguing. We were driving down the road. He got mad. He reached over. He grabbed the steering wheel. He didn't just grab it and make it move and make me lose control of the car. He grabbed it, pulled it down to right here, and held it. So we went up on the sidewalk. We hit a tree. It kind of sideswiped, and then we hit a telephone pole, I think it was, in front of that, which stopped the car. Luckily, there wasn't a scratch on any of us, but
the car is totaled, and my daughter was in the car. We could have all died. We were lucky.
Who takes care of your baby?
I take care of her. When I go to work on the weekends, his mother keeps her.
So you only work on the weekends?
No, I work on Monday nights and Thursday nights and Friday and Saturday.
You get any sort of sustenance from the state?
No, just I had daycare assistance, but that's it.
How many days a week?
5.
Well, what do you do when your daughter is in daycare?
Well, I was working lunches, but I wasn't making enough money, so I had to go back to working dinners.
Why don't you find another job to do if you're
Well,
getting daycare?
I'm going to school in January, and I'm trying to find a second job. I am.
Why don't you work breakfast and dinner and lunch? I mean, if the state is paying for your daycare, Miss Spear, they're paying for your daycare not so you can stay home and watch soap operas in the afternoon. They're paying for your daycare so that you can be out there working.
Right.
Now, you have a suspended driver's license?
I do.
Why were you driving?
Well, actually...
Not actually. Why were you driving if you're not supposed to be
The
driving
day
the car?
that the accident happened is when I found out that my license was revoked. She came back to me and said that your license had been revoked.
Why was it revoked?
Because I had an outstanding ticket.
For what?
For speeding.
That you didn't pay?
I haven't had the money to pay.
Well, that's because you were home watching soap operas instead of working lunches. Now I'll hear you. Did you know, Mr. Green, that Miss Spear had a suspended driver's license?
Yes,
when
I
you
knew
called
that.
her?
I knew that.
He did not
Did
know
you?
that.
Shh.
I'm sorry.
He says he did. When did you find out that she had a suspended driver's license?
I found out when the accident happened.
Oh, so you didn't know.
Yeah, I know now.
It's not what I asked you. I want you to try to follow what I'm saying.
Okay.
Now you tell me your version of the events. You called her up and she turned off her TV and she came to pick you up. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead. Pick it up from there.
So she picked me up from work. I got off early, and the first thing she asked me is about the child support. She wanted me to give her $40 a week. She wanted
Now, how much more was that than you had given her all of last year, sir? Last year, how much were you giving her a week?
I wasn't giving her pretty much.
What?
I really didn't have a steady job then.
Just a minute. Oh, now I understand. So, you didn't give her anything last year.
I gave her something.
How much?
If I could, about $50, if I could.
So you gave her nothing last year. And the year before, how much were you giving her a week? The year before?
And
A week?
It was
A
close
week?
to a couple of $100.
A week?
Yeah.
Really? You were giving her a couple $100 a week?
Yes.
That's a lot of money. Where were you getting a couple $100 a week from?
I had a good job then
So why did you go into Job Corps?
because I wanted to get a trade to make more money.
Well, you didn't do that.
No.
It didn't help you.
No, I'm still
You
working
gave
on
up.
it though.
You gave up a job where you could afford to give her $200 a week to go into Job Corps. How much were you making at this job?
$300 a week.
So you are, Mr. Green, you are one of the most generous people I know. So you're making $300 a week from your job, and you're giving her $200 a week child support. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
You believe that? This is coming from a man who didn't want to give her $40 a week.
No, let me tell you.
$40 a week. So you're telling me first you were giving her $200. Let me follow this, Mr. Green.
I didn't want.
You're giving her $200 a week because she had a really good job making $300 a week. So 2/3 of your income you give her. Then you wanted to get a better job with a trade. So you went to Job Corps where you couldn't send her any money. Then you came out and you got a job where you were making how much a week at this job working for the city?
About the same thing, $250, $300.
$250 or $300 a week, right? So why weren't you giving her $200 a week? The last job you had where you were making $300 a week, you were giving her $200. What happened in the car, sir? So she asked you for $40 and you said, I'm not giving you $40.
No, I'm not giving her no more money. So she started arguing. You know, we was arguing real loud for a minute, for about an hour, driving on the road. The car just lost control. So I grabbed the wheel, tried to pull the car back on the street. But instead, the car hit the pole and then hit up against the tree.
Okay. What was the total damage to the car?
I wasn't able to get an estimate because I can't afford to get the car towed anywhere. It's not drivable, and I can't afford to have anyone come out and look at it.
When did you buy the car?
In February of 2002, this year.
And how much did you pay for it?
$1,600.
Okay.
And then the value of the car is valued at $2,600.
I don't care what it's valued at, madam. Miss Spear.
And then
You think that I believe he's totally responsible for this? I don't believe he's totally responsible. I believe that you're partially responsible. You don't have a fight in a car with your baby in the car over anything. You stop the car and you say to him, get out. Stop the car, pull over, and say, get out. And then you would have gotten out of the car and you would have composed yourself and you would have continued. You don't fight with them back and forth, especially with the baby in the car. Don't you think the baby hears you screaming back and forth to each other? 2-year-old child understands that.
May I say something, Your Honor?
No. Takes two to make a fight. 2 idiots to make a fight driving in a car with a baby. You want to have a fight with each other in a car, bad enough. You're placing yourselves at risk, other people on the road at risk. But to have a fight in a car with your child in the car screaming and yelling at each other is the height of stupidity. So the car, you paid $1,600 for that, I believe. You only get $8. The other $8, work off at lunch. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. That's all.
Yeah, this is case. Okay. Yeah, this is case number 244 on the calendar in the matter Hesevic versus Boudreaux Whitney. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Hesevic, it is your complaint that because of the defendant's conduct in reporting certain behavior that really never happened on your part, that you lost your job. You want to be compensated for that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the defendants say that they had some business dealings with you. They found your conduct unacceptable. They reported that to your boss, and they had a legitimate right to do that.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. What kind of business were you in?
I sold gutter cover to keep debris out of gutters.
And how long had you worked for them?
About 4 or 5 months.
How did you find the defendants, or they found you?
They called in, I think, on a radio ad.
Is that true?
That's correct, Your Honor. Yeah.
Okay. What happened that caused you to call and make a complaint about the plaintiff?
Your Honor, basically it was just Karen's behavior. We were very interested in the product. It looked very good. And I expressed to her in the beginning.
Tell me what the product looks like.
It's actually a sheet metal device that goes over your gutter to deflect the needles and leaves off the gutter and allow the water to go in. Awesome product. Anyhow, we were very interested in the product. Karen came out to the house. We asked her to do an estimate. She left me with a tape and a sample of the product. I expressed to her that I wanted my wife to see the tape because she wasn't home at the time.
What date was that?
I believe that was the Saturday, the 24th, I believe was that was the date, yeah. Anyhow, she expressed to me that she needed the tape back. It was her last tape. And I clearly understood that and promised her we'd get it back to her. My wife got home late that evening, didn't get a chance to view the tape. The next day, she did, which was a Sunday. We in turn decided at that point that we had some friends that would be interested in the product as well. So we figured we'd hang on to it till Monday and get it back to her. Over the weekend, Karen left several nasty grams on my telephone, on my cell phone, expressing her desire to get the product back.
The tape back.
Right. Come Monday, she made a phone call or two to the house, which my wife, Whitney, answered, and she can tell you basically what took place there.
She called me on the phone, and she says, I really need to get my tape back. And I said, well, I got a friend that owns a gutter company, and I wanted to let them see it to see if they thought it was credible, that it might work. And she goes, well, I really need to get my tape back. I says, well, do you only have one tape? She goes, yep, I only have one tape. I go, well, okay, fine. I said, come get it. And she did.
On what date did she come?
It was on Monday evening.
Okay.
Which would have been the 26th, Your Honor.
Okay,
Yeah,
so what
26.
happened when plaintiff came and got the tape?
At that point, Your Honor, I'd arrived home from work, and I got a knock on the door, and it was Karen. She was obviously upset. I said nothing at first, went and got the tape, handed it to her, and said, I apologize that you didn't get it back as quick as you wanted based on the messages I retrieved. She was obviously upset. She got cranky with me and, grabbed it out of my hands and was obviously not real happy about the whole thing. And I said, Karen, the product that you're representing is awesome. I love it. We're interested in it. But the way you're treating me, I'm not going to buy anything from you. Her response was, I don't want to sell you anything. And I said, fine. Then I asked her to leave or I'd call the police. Now, several days went by and I got a subpoena served to our house, and it referred to a Bruce Hesevic was suing us for something. Now, I never met a Bruce. I haven't got a clue who Bruce was. So I was shocked. I didn't know what it was all about. In doing further research, I recognized the last name, which is on the back of her flyer, Hesevic and then Karen. So
what kind of subpoena did you get?
I got a small claim subpoena that said my wife and I, who she never met, Your Honor, were being sued for loss of income, libel, malicious behavior, slander, and so on.
May I see it, please?
Sure.
Plaintiff's employer?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you left that part out.
I beg your pardon,
sir.
ma'am. I did call the gutter people I spoke to, Mr. Steve, and I expressed my interest in this product. And I said, a lady named Karen came to our house to show your product over the weekend, left us a tape. We wanted to view the tape for a longer period of time. She took it back, was very upset with me for keeping it. Can you please send me another tape? And he said, well, you're saying Karen? And I'm saying, yes, Karen. He says, well, I have no Karen working for me. He goes, there is a Bruce that works for me in that area. You're sure it wasn't a man? I says, no, it was a lady named Karen. Fine, I'll send you a copy of the tape. Then a short while after that, we had sheriff come to our house looking for us. We weren't there. We were at a PTA meeting. My boys told us.
And then you got served with
Served
this.
after, yep.
Okay.
And then I went down to the courthouse and filed for a jury trial, figuring I'm going to get this thing out in the open.
Okay, now I got you.
Bingo.
And it would be fair to say that in your conversation with Mr. you voiced some displeasure with the salesperson.
Absolutely.
You did. You said, I don't like the way I'm
Absolutely,
being treated. I didn't like the way I was treated.
No, I'm a sales manager, Your Honor, and I think when you want to make a sale, you're
Okay.
nice to people.
Bruce and Karen, same person?
Yes.
Okay, so that's both you. Now, when you went to work for this gutter cover company, did you interview with this Mr.?
Yes. I actually did sales before I ever met him, and then...
For the same company?
Yeah, I was working for the previous franchisor, and he came down after that. I sold several deals before that.
When you interviewed and worked for them previously, you worked for them as Bruce.
Right.
To your knowledge, did this Mr. know that you were also Karen?
We had talked about it. I called the office and said that there would be a person as Karen out there, and that my hair was long, and that people do see me as a woman.
You intend to maintain that persona?
Yes.
My problem, Ms. Hesevic, is that you seem to ascribe some behavior to the defendants, which is actionable. Why do you believe that they do not have a right to call your employer and say, I'm dissatisfied with the kind of treatment that I got from your rep. I like the product. I'm interested in buying the product. And if your employer decides, for whatever reason, to let you go, why do you feel as if you have the right to sue the defendants?
Because when I talked to Steve on Tuesday, he told me that the severity of their complaint against me was such that he had to believe that they were telling the truth. I told him they were not telling the truth, and then I told him exactly what happened. And as she said, she told me to come out and pick up the tape. On the phone call, she did not say that. She hung up on me. And I have copies of the phone call that was made to him. He said I made several threatening phone calls.
You went out there to get the tape?
Yes.
No, I said
What
nasty grams. I didn't say phone call.
Nasty grams.
Yeah, on my cell phone.
When you went out there to get the tape, tell me what happened.
Well, I got out of my car. Their kids yelled from the top of the deck that the lady from the gutter is here. And I heard her yelling at her kids, I don't want to talk to her. Tell them to go down to the basement door and talk to the father. And so they came out and told me that. So I went around under the deck into the basement door that they have there. He opened the door part way and handed me the tape, and he said some remarks to me. And I said, well, you promised to have it back to me by 5 p.m. on Saturday. I said, you never called? He said, oh, yes, I did. But I was at home from 3 o'clock all the way till 10 o'clock at night. There wasn't one phone call. I have a message machine on my machine.
There you go. That's why you didn't answer it.
And
sorry.
No messages were even left.
Nope. That's
so?
true.
So, yeah.
So?
And, yeah, so he didn't call to say he wasn't going to meet me. He could have left a message machine on there. He knew that the tape was
So what did you say to him?
He made some comments, and then I told him that I had to use that for sales, and that as he knew I had appointments on Monday morning, I didn't get the tape till 7 o'clock Monday night.
And?
So he says, well, you're losing more business.
You forget the golden credo,
yeah,
which is the customer's always right.
Want me to deliver the damn tape? I'm sorry.
The customer's always right. Because you had a real live customer there. You had a customer who was really interested in your product.
$6 grand.
Listen.
I'm sorry.
That's a hothead. Let me ask you this question. Why didn't you call Gutter and have them give you another tape?
I had sent a memo up to him on Monday morning saying that I needed another tape.
Why didn't you go there?
Oh, they're out of Seattle, and I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Oh, so they have to send it to you.
Yeah.
Why did you wait until you were down to your last tape?
I only had one tape all the time.
Well, that sounds like a not very good policy. What happens if that
that's
tape...
all the company gives.
Well, that's kind of stupid.
Right, yeah.
You don't have a cause of action, Ms. Hesevic. He has an absolute right to call the company and say, I don't like her attitude. I don't like the way she spoke to me. I was interested in your product. I'm still interested in your product. He's not trying to put one over on these people. He's calling and saying, listen, your lady who you sent out here was rude. She took off. She doesn't want to do business with me. I'm still interested in doing business with your company. Send me another tape and send me another rep. And if by virtue of that statement, Mr. let you go as the rep for the company in your area, so be it. It may also have been that Mr., and I don't know, he's not here, was not happy about not knowing what gender person was going out. He thought it was one gender, and it turned out to be a different gender. That's possible, too. That coupled with what they said, listen, I don't need this aggravation. But they have a right to call.
Yes.
They have a right to make a complaint. That's what the First Amendment's all about. So your claim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Basically what happened as a result of this individual not being honest.
Some people can lie and get away with it.
Honesty is the best policy. You know, she should have been honest, and she wasn't.
Yeah, this is case number 193 on the calendar in the matter of Harris versus Cardisco.
Thank you, Bird.
Quite welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Miss Harris, is this your son?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this the son that has 2 children with this lady?
Yes, ma'am.
It is your claim that the defendant owes you some money for a series of loans. She and your son, I assume, lived together or were together for a period of time because, according to what I've read, they have 2 children together.
Yes, ma'am.
How old are your grandchildren?
3 and 1. And John also has 2 stepsons, which were Rebecca's children.
Well, they were never married.
No, but he has custody of them.
He has custody of her 2 children that are not his biological children.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have custody of all 4 children. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
What is wrong with you? Shh, quiet.
We went through we're going through custody right now.
No. I could understand when you have a custody dispute involving parents, 2 biological parents, judge has to weigh what's in a child's best interest. But when a judge, unless the judge is educated on Jupiter, gives non-biological children to not even a step-parent, because the 2 of you were never married, to somebody else, there has to be something wrong with you. Do you have a drug problem, an alcohol problem?
I did, Your Honor. I did have a drug problem, and he doesn't have full custody of the children. It's going through social services.
Well, but who do they live with 5 days a week?
Right now, him.
Fine. So, and they go to school from his house?
Yes.
So right now he has custody?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you in a drug program?
Yes, I am.
Did you go into a residential program?
When I get back in town, I am.
So you are not now in a residential drug program?
No, but I'm in an outpatient program right now.
How long were you using drugs?
For 3 years. After I had my daughter, I got in a car wreck and had a lot of back problems.
Oh, everybody has back problems. But not everybody becomes addicted to drugs. Okay. Tell me about the loans.
Okay. Basically met Becky in March of '98 when she was living with her another boyfriend in the same complex we did. They broke up and she needed a place to stay, and she finagled her way into my house and lived with us for a couple of months, and then her and John started a relationship. Then the first grandchild was born in 9 of '99, and from that point on, it started being just a big con. Every couple months, every couple weeks, she needed this or needed that or needed help with this. Then they broke up for a while, and she had her own apartment and would hold the baby almost hostage. If you want to see your granddaughter, you'll give me this. She had a car wreck in 11 of '99, and that's when she got her back hurt and started taking Vicodin and Zoma and got addicted to them. And then she got pregnant again with my second granddaughter and had her
Also no testament to his good judgment.
Yes.
Okay.
And she was born in March of 2001.
Now, when she lived with you, she also lived with you with her other 2 children?
Yes, ma'am. I supported her and her 2 children then. And then, after the second baby was born, she really got deep into the drugs. She, at one point, had 8 drug felonies on her. 2 of them were where she used my name to get the drugs. And she was actually able to con her way out of those charges. She got something called drug court, where she gets to go in and talk to somebody once a week. And
at what point did they remove the children?
In May of this year.
Were either of the girls born with any sort of drugs in their system?
No, ma'am.
Were either of them tested?
No, ma'am, so there's no way to know for sure.
Where does your son live now, Miss Harris?
My son lives in Fort Collins with the children, and I travel there every day to help him with the children.
Stand up. Who takes care of the children?
Oh, I do. My mother helps.
You work?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
Construction.
How do you support yourself?
Right now, I don't have a place to live. That's why when I go back, I'm going into treatment.
How do you expect her to give you any money?
In July of this year, Becky claimed she got a $50,000 insurance settlement. She went out and bought a new car.
No, I
Did
didn't.
you?
No, I didn't. My grandmother.
Did you get any money?
My grandmother gave me a couple thousand to get me a car so I could get a job.
And what'd you do with the car?
It broke down.
Did you ever tell Miss Harris that you got a settlement for something?
I did tell her I had gotten some money and that I would give her some. I did tell her that. But I didn't have any. And as far as...
You didn't have any what?
I didn't have any money.
So what you told her was a lie?
Yes, Your Honor.
How much money do you owe her?
I do owe her money. She did give me money for Christmas. I'm not going to say I don't owe her anything, because I do.
So I'm asking, how much do you owe her?
I don't know for sure. I mean,
how much does she owe you for Christmas?
For Christmas alone, $800. But prior to that, I gave her $500 for rent in November, $500 again rent for January and and I even had to take loans out from where I worked for me to survive because I was giving her money.
Did you expect to get that money back?
Yes,
Ms.
I
Harris,
did.
my question is, seriously, did you expect to get that money back from her? And I mean, you can get a judgment, but I'm going to ask you honestly.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is she going to get the money from?
She would actually sit there on the phone in front of me and be talking to the insurance guy. Actually sit there talking to him, but she actually wasn't talking to him. And she was having a conversation with nobody. Yes, I'll come down and get that check. At one point, I mean, several times she was supposed to pick up a check. She had John and I believing she got a $50,000 check. She was throwing money around. She went and got a $150 perm. She gave me a $100 bill one time to thank me for watching her kids because she'd been out of the house for almost 3 months. I actually thought she was getting a settlement. Then I find this letter in the house. She settled for next to nothing in November of 2000.
Let me see.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You didn't tell them that you were settling it. You just wanted the money right away.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, I know. But you're doing drugs. You need some money for drugs. Nonsense. Nonsense.
And later today,
If she's the co-signer on a note for your car, then you're supposed to pay for the car.
Right, which I pay her for.
Let's go slowly, Mr. Gaffney. My father didn't raise idiots.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rosemary Harris says her son's former common-law wife, Rebecca Cardisco, owes for several unpaid loans. Rosemary claims Rebecca is a drug addict.
So you settled this accident claim despite the fact that you had an attorney. How much did you settle it for?
I think it was around $800. The attorney said that they couldn't get any more, and if they could, it was going to take a long while.
You didn't tell them that you were settling it. You just wanted the money right away.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah,
say
I know.
was settling.
That's what you did. You had a lawyer. They got fed up with you because you settled with this company after they had made some expenditures. But you're doing drugs. You need some money. You need some money for drugs. Look, as far as I can see, she owes you for 3 months' rent and $800 for Christmas. She doesn't know how much she owes you. That's $2,300. Has she, I assume, not given you any child support for the 3 children?
Not as of yet, no.
Have you worked in the last 5 years?
Yes, Your Honor, and he did receive child support last month.
How much?
I gave him $500.
From where?
Between him and his mother.
From where?
I got some money from my grandmother.
From your grandmother?
She gave me some money to give him for the children. He said that he needed it for the children. And I have a job.
Do you use drugs or do you sell them occasionally?
I don't do either. I've been clean.
Judge, there is a judgment now. She's supposed to pay $575 a month.
Good. That's what she's supposed to do. Somebody else is taking care of your children. In the meantime, she owes you $2,300. Miss Cardisco, I wish you good luck in residential treatment. If you want it to be successful, you have to stay there. You can't go in there for 6 weeks, or for 4 weeks, or for 12 weeks and say it's over. You have to stay there. What is it, a year or 18 months? Is that what they want you to stay?
60 days. 60 days.
Nonsense! Nonsense! Bert and I were in family court between us for more years than you're alive. And no residential program where you just go for 60 days is going to keep you off drugs permanently. You have to go into a drug-free environment for a long time. You've been on drugs for at least 3 years. Don't kid yourself. 60 days is not going to do it. 30 days is not going to do it. You have to do it. You have children. You made children. They need you. Do you get it? They need you. Stay with it. Find the right place and stay there. You're a young woman. How old?
25.
25. Got a lot of years ahead. They can be miserable. You can have a miserable life or you can have a happy life. You still have another 50 years of happiness or you have 50 years of misery. Choice is yours. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Becky's nothing but a con.
I do have problems and I have issues, but they're not any better than I am. Any better.
I'm the primary caregiver because Becky's a drug addict.
I never kept her grandchildren from her. I was afraid she was going to try to take off or do something with them. I didn't know what she's capable of. I mean, she just made me look like an idiot in there.
And now
This is case number 211 on the calendar in the matter of Palmer, Chorney versus Palmer. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
How are you related to each other?
Friends.
How are you involved in this case?
That's my best friend. She borrowed him the money. She borrowed me the money to borrow him.
She loaned you the money.
Sorry, she loaned me the money.
That he allegedly borrowed from you.
Yes.
Why don't you have a seat? This is your father.
Yes, ma'am.
It's your claim that the father borrowed $200 from you and also has some property of yours that's not worth very much, but $80. A VCR and a quilt set. He says he never borrowed any money from you and you took all your property, put it outside, and you came by and you took it. What did you lend your father money for?
My best friend had borrowed or loaned me $200 to loan him $200 so he could move into the apartment that he is staying in with now with his girlfriend. He did not have the full deposit to move in.
When did he ask you for this money?
June 8th.
Did he call you on the phone?
Yeah, he called me on my cell phone.
Where were you living?
With my mother.
So your father called you and asked you to borrow money so that he could put down a deposit on an apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
Why would he call his daughter?
He's called me many times to borrow money, and he's borrowed money from me several times.
How old are you?
19.
What kind of work do you do?
I clean houses for a living. I work for Mary Maids.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Palmer?
I'm a truck driver, been a truck driver for 10 years.
You work steadily 5 days a week?
Yes, ma'am.
Who do you work for?
Right now I'm working for D&D. What is it?
Don't ask her. She doesn't drive the truck.
Oh, I can't remember what it's D&D Services, I guess is what
It's
they call
D&D
it.
Realty. He maintenances for his landlord. He is not driving a truck.
On what date did you lend him this money?
June 9th.
Who were you working for on June 9th?
A1 Container. It's a trash business.
And how long had you been working for them?
Right around 7-8 months.
So there was really no need for you to borrow money from your daughter?
No, ma'am. When all this was going on, I was in the process of a divorce. I was living in my truck for 2.5 months. The gentleman that I worked for at A1 Container was holding my paychecks so I didn't blow my money, so I would have the money to move in. This 200.
Why was he holding?
I asked him to hold a certain amount of money every week. I'd cash my check. I'd give him cash. Will you hold this for me so I don't blow my money? Because he knew the predicament I was in. I'd been living in my truck for 2.5 months. This whole case started over, this was supposed to be a trip that Amanda, Sylvia's 7-year-old sister, was supposed to take to Kansas City. I couldn't get the time off of work because I had just started working.
Who? What's your first name?
Amanda.
Amanda. Who's Sylvia?
This is Sylvia.
And who's 7-year-old?
That's her sister, and she's
She
6,
has
and that
nothing
is
to do.
incorrect. He had lost his job.
Go ahead.
We had planned a trip to go to Kansas City. It was supposed to be a week later than what they went. We told her not to go because her car would not make the trip. I had a SEI.
When was it?
The trip was supposed to take place, I take her, Your Honor, every year.
When was the trip?
June 22nd for her birthday. For the last 10 years, I've taken my daughter to Worlds of Fun.
She went. So what's the $200 for?
She went to Kansas City against my wishes. I had a mechanic look at her vehicle. The mechanic stated, your car is not worthy. I got a phone call at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon on my pager from my girlfriend, Linda. Your daughter is in Kansas City. Her car broke down. She was 80 miles outside of Columbia, Missouri. She got on the interstate, left Worlds of Fun on 480.
Don't give me the road, sir. It doesn't make any difference.
She went the wrong direction.
So what was the $200 for?
She's stating that I borrowed $280 from her. I borrowed no money. I was supposed to pay for their trip to Kansas City. They went without me, and the mechanic told her not to go. The car broke down. They called me. I took time off of work. I borrowed money. I borrowed a car, drove to Kansas City, picked up my daughter, Sylvia, and a 7-year-old girl out in the middle of nowhere. The highway patrol had to find her for me.
How long did it take you to get there?
They called me at 2:30 in the afternoon. I showed up in Kansas City at 9:30
And
at
when
night.
was this?
The day that they took the trip?
Your Honor, it was the 12th that
12th
we
of
were
what?
stuck out there, of June.
So you're telling me that your father borrowed money from $200 from you on June 9th,
Mhm.
and 3 days later he came out to Kansas City to get you.
Yes.
He did
He
come
came out. He came out to help me with my starter because my starter went out in my car. I had took it to my personal mechanic, and
No, I'm talking about you drove 11 hours to come and get you.
I called him at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
and he was not home. So his girlfriend called him and then called me back and let me know that he was working and he'd be out as soon as he could get off of work and
Your
he could
Honor.
find a car. I did not call him at his place of business. I do not know
Did your
that
father
number.
come to get you on
Yes,
June 12th?
He came out on June 12th.
Okay, and he came out. What did he do when he came out on June 12th? Just a minute. You sit down. Look at me. Look at me. You too.
When he arrived, he threw the cooler that belonged to her towards her little sister, and his girlfriend hollered at him and pushed him away. He then put a spare tire on my car because my spare had exploded. The company out in Kansas City put a new starter in my car, so I needed a tire. It wasn't the starter that I needed help with.
Okay, so?
And the $200 had nothing to do with the trip. He was fired from A1. He did not work there no more. The only reason why I borrowed him the money is because I felt bad for him because he got arrested for sleeping in his truck.
Okay. Now, what about these things that you say he has that belong to you, a VCR and a quilt?
When he first moved into his apartment, they were sleeping on the floor. They had blankets, and that was it because his girlfriend's going through a divorce and just left her daughter and her husband to be with him. I had went to stay with him for a little while because I wasn't getting along with my mother. And I had a VCR, and I had my TV there. I got my TV and my dressers and my clothes back. And the only reason why I got that back is because I was escorted by officers because he...
Well, what caused the trouble between you and your father?
His girlfriend.
Wow.
Excuse me, Your Honor?
Explain that to me. It sounds to me as
that
if...
being more important than his daughter.
It sounds to me as if for at least, he says 10 years, he would take you to this water park.
No.
Say 5 years.
Worlds of
But you
fun.
had... You had a reasonable relationship with him. Certainly you got into trouble and you called him to come and help you.
It was occasionally reasonable. It depended.
Good. Okay. And then if you had difficulty with your mother,
Yeah.
you said you went to your father. So it wasn't as if you were estranged, you know, that you weren't
While
speaking.
I was staying with him, my belongings were there, but I was staying at Sylvia's house most of the time because we were fighting.
All right. But sometimes you were there and it doesn't sound like a terrible arrangement. So what kind of problems do you have with his girlfriend?
That she was on probation, and he is...
Probation for what?
I believe DWI.
Okay.
And the problems all occurred, and the reason why I started staying with Sylvia was because they were arguing because he was having pot in the house while she's on probation, and that she was drinking while being on probation.
Did your father drink?
From what I understand, yeah, he has been. While I was staying with him, I had seen him drink several times.
Your Honor, I quit drinking April 13th, 1988 when I hit a telephone pole at 80 miles an hour because of alcohol.
So
And I
what do you
haven't
got-
drank since.
So,
My
Mr.
Uncle John
Palmer,
passed.
what do you involve? Shh, listen to me. Just listen to me. If that's true, that means that there was a point in your life where you had a drinking problem.
Yes, ma'am.
And it sounds to me like you had a serious drinking problem.
Yes, ma'am.
Then what do you get yourself involved with somebody who has a drinking problem for?
Because my girlfriend has been in AA for 2.5 years, clean and sober. I have been clean and sober for almost 11 months.
That's
And
incorrect.
Just a shh, shh.
I
I thought
would
it was
like to-
1988.
I would like...
I thought it was
I would like to
1988.
explain, Your Honor, I would like to explain why this has all come about. The problems between me and my daughter are right there with Sylvia Chorney. My daughter lied to you when you asked her, what is your relationship? They're not friends. They are girlfriends.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You had a substance abuse problem.
I
for a
had no
period.
substance abuse.
Of course you did. You were in
Prove
AA.
it. Test me right now and
You
prove
told
to
me you
that
were in
I had-
AA.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Amanda Palmer says she loaned her father, Mark Palmer, $200. Mark says Amanda is a bitter girl and she's seeking revenge.
Now,
that is my friend.
There was a point when this all came out, before I found out that my daughter and Sylvia Chorney were seeing each other, Sylvia Chorney went to the Omaha Police Department and filed charges against me for rape, for fear of how I was going to react to this.
My mother had, that's when he was still with my mother, and my mother was around, and I went to my mother when I found out that he had raped her. And I had took my mother to Village Inn. I sat down, I had talked to her. My mother knew before he knew that I was gay. That has nothing to do with it.
And Your Honor, they
the
said
verbal
that it
and
was...
the physical and the emotional abuse started when I was very young.
Okay. More information that I needed for this, shh, please. More information that I needed. I see you're upset. And it's more than $200. It's, you know, the issue involves more than $200, I gather.
Well, I have papers and everything stating for the money that came out and all of that because it was from her.
I want to tell you something. I believe that you gave him $200. Okay? I believe that you gave him $200. What I'm telling you is I don't think that this case is about $200 because I don't think that you would be here for $200.
It wasn't for me. It was for the respect out of my friend, or whatever he wants to consider her, out of my best friend, because she borrowed it, and I don't want it to come in between us because of that.
Okay, so you're really talking about Sylvia saying to you, you got to get the money back from him.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a minute. Good, bad, I don't know. I don't have enough time to figure it out today, nor is it really any of my business. Whether he's a good father, a bad father, whether he has been verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, whether he's been supportive or non-supportive, I don't know. Bottom line is, that's your father.
Bottom line is, Your Honor, I support her no matter what.
Quiet down, because I have a feeling, sir, growing up with you was not a picnic. If you had an alcohol problem for a period, listen to me carefully, deny all you like, but if growing up with you at times involved living with your substance abuse problem, that's a problem. That's not
substance abuse problem. I had no substance abuse problem, Your Honor. I left my wife because my wife had left me on several occasions laying in a bed, burning.
Mr. Palmer, you are not paying attention to me, sir. What I'm saying to you is you had a substance abuse problem.
I had no substance abuse.
Of course you did. You were in AA.
Test me right now and prove to me
you were in
AA. I was drinking in April 13th, 1988. I went after work. I went and had a few beers with a buddy.
Alcohol, you told me. You've been involved in AA. You've been clean and sober for 11 months. That's what you told me. Alcohol is a substance. If you abuse a substance, that's a substance abuse. That's not necessarily drugs. Alcohol is a substance.
I went to AA, Your Honor, for marijuana use, not alcohol use.
Mr. Palmer, whatever it is, sir, if you're in a state of denial, I'm not going to reach you. You have a child who's 19 years old. If during the course of her minority, you as a parent that sometimes were under the influence of either marijuana, which is a drug, or alcohol, which is also a substance, and that caused you not to be able to properly parent a child, and I'm telling you that it absolutely all the time does not enable you to properly parent a child when your brain is cloudy, then she grew up with certain amount of baggage that she didn't buy into when she was born. You have to understand that. That's a true thing.
I understand.
You may not like it, but it's a true thing. So she's got baggage.
I'm not
she is your child.
I am not the one being investigated for doctor shopping, for pills, because of her mother.
You're not getting it.
No, he can't.
If I'm not getting it, then award her the case because I am so used.
Then I want you to tell him, if he doesn't understand, I want you to just stand by him, and every time he opens his mouth now, because now I'm tried to get through to him, it was like getting through to this table. You don't get it.
Just award to her.
You don't get it.
I do get it.
You don't get it. She's your child.
I got shafted for 23 years. What's another day in court?
Just a second. She wasn't around for 23 years, sir. She's only been around 19.
And it's been this way my whole life.
Shh. She's only been around for 19.
Your Honor, I have traveled her all
No,
over the
I'm not
United States.
listening to you. You are not getting it. You are not getting it. She's the child. You're the parent.
And I was a damn good parent.
No. Oh, I'm sure you were a wonderful parent. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $280. You don't get it. But he's your father. He's always going to be your father. If Sylvia was a good friend to you, she would not have put you in a situation that you're in today by saying to you, you should get the money back from him. Because this is too painful. This is too painful. You should not be involved with it. You have to understand, your best friend is supposed to make things easy for you, not more difficult. Good.
That has been
Okay,
her
judgment
biggest
for the
thing.
plaintiff as pursuant to the requested judgment, which is $280, because I believe what you tell me. That's all.
Parties are
Thank
excused.
you.
You may step out. Sir, step out the back.
It's been nothing but verbal threats, him harassing her at her job.
She lied to the judge.
I don't care if I was 16 and had $5 and he asked for it, I'd give it to him.
It's number 170 on the calendar in the matter of Garcia versus Terrell. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Ms. Garcia, the defendant is your daughter.
Yes.
Without going into too much history, there did come a time when, according to you, and I believe that your daughter acknowledges that you loaned her some money for two things. First, for a sofa that she wanted.
Yes.
And then a car loan. Then there came a time when your daughter was having some difficulty. She moved in with you.
Correct.
Is that right? With her children.
Yes.
And she put a lot of her stuff in a storage unit that was in your name.
That's correct.
That's her counterclaim. Her counterclaim is that you locked the storage unit and she can't get her property. Right?
Yes.
How long did you live with your mother?
From October 2001 to February 2nd, 2002.
And when did she lend you the money for the couch?
March 2001.
How much did she lend you at that time?
I believe it came to 26 and some odd dollars, 2,600.
When you moved in with her, what happened to the couch?
Well, when I got laid off and moved out of my apartment, she got a U-Haul, she got a storage unit. We moved everything to that storage unit.
Where is the couch now?
From what I've heard last, that she has moved it out of the storage unit and moved it into her house.
Where's the couch now?
In my basement.
Did you make any payments on the couch?
No.
None?
None. We had an agreement that when I got my income taxes back, because I had a whole year to pay on it, I had till April 2002 to pay for it, that I would give her the money for it.
You don't need the couch, do you?
No.
So you're perfectly happy to return the couch to her if she pays the money?
Correct.
That's fine. That takes care of the couch. Now, what about the car? Did your mother lend you money for a car?
We had leased a car, both her name and then my name, and I was making payments. I was late on it because I was laid off, and she knew I was going to be late, and then...
But the car was for you?
Yes. It was for
And you told her that you would make the payments?
Yes.
And you didn't?
No. I was late.
So what happened?
Well, I asked her for some money to borrow. To pay,
Who's her?
I'm sorry, Rebecca Martin. If I could borrow some money, she lent it to me. Then I paid February's. And then when I went in March on a vacation, just to Ohio for a couple days, I had a check in my purse in my car for March's payment. Next morning I woke up and my car was gone. When I got my belongings back, she took the check out of my purse. I found out she took money out of my account of $26.33 out of my account, one for a car payment and one for my couches. But then she asked for the storage key back, so she wouldn't give me my couches anyway, even though she got the money out
Where's
for
the
it.
car?
The car is my possession.
Are you using it?
Yes, I am.
I mean, you're using it for basic transportation for yourself?
Yes.
Okay, so you pay for the car. And the storage stuff, you're prepared to give back to her?
That's correct.
So we've taken care of some of the financial stuff. The car you're going to use, so you'll continue to pay for the car. She's going to give you $2,600 for the sofa. The problem that I have here is that you have children. And I gather that since this incident that happened between you and your mother hasn't seen your children. Why is that?
With everything that... I've had a really rough life living in that household and a lot of abuse that was in the house. And I don't want my children around that. I don't want them to go through what I've went through in my life, so I just rather just keep them away. And then she called Protective Services and told them that I punched them in the face. Took the chance on me getting my kids taken away.
Did you ever hit your children?
No, I don't hit. I don't punch them. I spank my children. I'm not going to lie. I discipline my children.
How old are they?
They are 6 and 3. And I could understand if she was looking out for the welfare of the children. I could get over that. Yeah, she was looking out for the best interest. To sit there and straight up lie to get a chance on... My daughter was pulled out of gym class to be questioned. She was upset about that, and I...
When you hit your children, where do you hit them?
I hit them on their butts.
With what?
My hand.
Anything else?
No, not like her, that she uses a spatula.
I don't think so.
What does your 3-year-old do that inspires you to hit her?
My son?
Your son. Him.
Well, if he's acting bad, throwing a fit, I mean, you know, a normal 3-year-old, you know,
mouthy, no. If timeout's not doing it, if he's not staying in his corner, I spank his butt. I paddle his butt.
Paddle it with what?
My hand.
Anything else?
No. That's hard enough. I don't need any objects.
I'm not going to get into that with you, but 3-year-olds have a limited understanding.
A boy at that.
Yeah, well. And if children grow up in violence, that's what happens. So if you grew up in what you allege is a violent household, where you were corporally punished, perhaps you want to rethink your disciplinary mode with your own children, because that perpetuates itself. That doesn't mean that your children who are used to their grandmother shouldn't see her even for a couple of hours every other Sunday, because now that you're angry with each other, what caused this rift? You want to tell me?
Well, it was a domestic violence charge upon her for cutting my face on February 2nd of 2002.
What did she cut your face with?
Her fingernail.
You had a fight?
Yes.
I was fighting her off of me.
About what?
She put my grandson in allowed him to go to her ex-boyfriend's
his father
house, who she said that she would not allow him to go over there because in 2000 he took my grandson away from her and wouldn't give him back, was trying to sue her for custody. And she called me up crying, wanting me to help her get my grandson out of the home. So I went over there with her and got the child out of the home with the police, and she said that she would never let him have his, see his son again. Well, as time went by, she forgave him and she allowed him to see him, but she said she wouldn't leave him alone with him because of all that he has put her through. She didn't want him to see that. So in 2000 of this year, 2002, February 2nd, she let him go over there because we were all sick in the home. I had bronchitis, she was sick, and my grandson was sick, and she wanted to get some sleep. So she let him go over there without her supervision. And I said, I thought you weren't going to allow him to go over there. And we got into an argument, and then she went into a rage, and she cut my face.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
They want to see her. They send her letters. They write her letters. And I want
I have not
that.
received any letters.
She goes off.
Listen, don't fight. I'm trying to make it better.
And later today,
there was no necessarily written contracts or anything of that.
Get to what she owes you money for, sir. I already got that part of the story. I finished with that. What does she owe you money for? What do you think? I don't remember my question? I'm not that old.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sharon Garcia says her daughter, Angela Terrell, owes for several unpaid loans. Angela says her mother won't return her belongings.
You think it's a smart idea not to let your children see their grandmother?
With her husband in the house, yes.
What do you mean with her husband? You think it's okay with her husband?
I don't want my children around her husband, really. I mean, I'm not really too worried about her. I mean, as long as she doesn't hit him with spatulas or cutting boards or whatever.
What if she just sees him in the park?
Yeah, that's fine. It's supervised visitations.
Why don't you just see him in the park? It's just, she was part of their lives.
I understand, and my kids miss her terribly. And I hate it, but...
Not for you or not for her.
I know.
But really
for the children. I know. They want to see her. They send her letters. They write her letters. And I want
I have
that.
not received any letters.
Well, isn't there a park where you could meet?
Yes. But with, we have a no contact order, and we have I can't have any negative contact with her. And the way she goes off, just talking.
I mean, isn't there somebody else that you could arrange? And I can't fashion such an order. You can only do that between yourselves.
But I still can't have negative contact.
Listen, don't fight. Okay. I'm trying to make it better. I can't fashion that order. That's not currently before me. But isn't there someone else? I don't know who this lady is.
Her neighbor is a sheriff for Oakland County.
Somebody else who could just pick up the kids, go to the park, let her spend a couple of hours with the kids a couple of times a month on a Sunday. Can't you arrange that? Be a good mother.
I'm trying.
Okay? Be a good mother, because listen, I mean, it's sort of classic. You're not an unintelligent young woman, but it's really sort of classic. You say you were raised in a house where there was physical abuse, and then you corporally punish your own children, okay? That perpetuates itself from one generation to another.
I don't want it no more.
The children need the widest possible community of people that they're familiar with. And good, bad, or indifferent, they're familiar with their grandmother. They lived with her. She's taken care of them at various times, I'm sure. And so now they've been cut off. It's not a good thing for their overall development. So be a good mother. See if you can work something out so that the kids can see their grandmother. Reasonable?
Was it supervised?
Reasonable?
Yes.
Okay. And your mother wouldn't mind that as long as she can see them, because it's not really for her, it's for the children.
Correct.
Okay. So all the property, all of your property is going to be returned within 5 days. You owe your mother $2,600 for the couch because you're going to get it back. So the judgment is for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I did not abuse my daughter. She was not brought up in an abusive home.
It's hurting my children. She's trying to hurt me, and it's hurting my children.
I did everything out of love to help her out.
Every time I'm with her or around her, I've been brought pain.
Hands on her, I didn't.
A big fat man like him lied.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Anzua versus Aldretti, step forward, please.
Hairstylist Karen Ainzua and her husband Mako Ainzua are suing Karen's brother, 25-year-old magician James Aldretti, for the cost to fix a rental car he wrecked.
Miss Ainzua, the defendant is your brother. And
Yes.
according to your complaint, you did him a favor and you rented a car for him for credit reasons. Is that right, sir?
No, because I was under 25 at the time, and they charge you an additional fee just to rent. It would have just costed me way too much at the time.
Actually, it was also for credit reasons.
So you did him a favor, and then he wrecked the car. And the rental company withdrew directly from your bank to cover the damage to the car. Ultimately, you settled with them, and the entire fiasco cost you $2,066.
Correct.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
She rented the car for you. You used it exclusively.
Actually, she offered to rent the car for me.
But you used the car exclusively. It
Yes.
was for you. When did she rent the car for you?
I don't know the exact date. I know it was, I think sometime in August. Say maybe the 23rd, maybe 20th. I don't have any.
And how long were you going to use the car?
I had no definite plan at the time because everything at the same time was just going on. You know,
Okay.
I don't want to bring personal matters into it.
When was
but-
the accident?
God, I don't remember the date. Maybe the 20th.
All right, now we get back to somebody who can give me some answers. When did you rent the car for him?
I rented the car September 12th, 2000.
Well, he was close. When were you notified that he was in an accident?
September 17th at night. He got in the accident early that morning.
Well, basically what I have to say about the case here is...
You were in an accident
Yes.
sometime on the 17th of September. Tell me about the accident.
Well, I was coming home from work at that time. I worked at I was a manager at a strip club, and I was driving home. I got off of work kind of late, like 4 in the morning, and I was driving home on the freeway, and somebody cut me off on the freeway, and I ended up hitting the dirt, and it spun my car around. It spun the car around through the whole freeway and hit the center divider, then it knocked me off into a ditch. I was unconscious for like 10 minutes, and I woke up.
Were you injured?
I was, just internally a little bit. And,
Were you hospitalized?
just for like a couple hours until somebody came and picked me up.
No injuries that required any follow-up.
No.
So why aren't you responsible for this, sir?
Well, because first of all, I never asked her to rent me a car. She took the initiative too. I just asked her to come pick me up at the time because my car broke down. And
he begged me. He begged me.
Shh, please. I want to hear him. Mr. Aldretti,
Yes.
I want to hear you, sir.
Okay. Well.
I am committed to hearing your defense in this case. I want you to understand that.
Okay. And anyways, she said, well, and I said, well, I want to rent a car, but I said it was going to cost me too much. And actually, at the time, when you go to rent a car, they want a credit card. And at the time, I had an ATM, and I didn't have the money in there because what they do is they withhold money for you from the time you rent the car.
I'm committed to hearing your defense, but not being bored to death, sir. Would you get on with your defense?
Okay. She said that she would rent me a car, and I said okay. And I feel like she took responsibility for her actions. She basically put her name and everything else on the line for her brother, obviously. And I started looking into it, and I don't feel like I'm responsible for it. I mean, if somebody came to me and said, hey, I need to borrow your car, or if I said, hey, go ahead and borrow my car since you need a car, I'm taking the responsibility for their actions. If they get into a car accident, it's my fault. I'm not going to go after them because they got into a car accident. First of all, it wasn't even my fault that I got into the car accident. I mean, I just don't feel like I'm responsible for it. I mean, if I'm going to let somebody use something of mine or get something for them or whatever, and something happens to it, I'm taking the responsibility for it. You know, and the way I feel is that's what the insurance is for. You know, I mean, she's my family, she's my sister, that she's like the only closest family that I have. She owns a business. I've done plenty of things for her as far as her business. I've gone to work for her without asking for anything.
I told you, I don't want to be bored to death. When you're finished, I'd just like you to say, Judge, that's my defense.
Well,
when you're finished.
My defense, Your Honor, is basically she took the responsibility for it. She put her name on the line, and that's what happened, and I feel she's responsible for it because I had nothing to do with it. I didn't take the responsibility for the car. I never signed a contract saying if I get into an accident, I'm going to cover it or anything like that.
Are you ready for the sentence now?
I guess.
You know what the sentence is? Judge, that is my defense.
Oh.
Are you finished? I don't want to rush you.
Okay.
Mr. Andretti, I don't want to rush you, sir.
I just want to get things clear, that's why, because...
No, I want you to be clear.
Okay, and Your Honor, that the reason why I feel like...
Don't repeat yourself, though. I mean, because my mind is still relatively intact even at my age. You know, I don't like things repeated time after time after time. When you've said what your defense is, I'd like you to just let me know. Anything else?
Nope, that's it, Your Honor.
So can I have the sentence, please?
That's my defense.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,066. Mr. Andretti, there is something wrong with you. Now.
It's all Andretti.
There is something wrong with you.
It's all Andretti, though. I just want to...
Whatever.
Okay.
Your sister wasn't at the bar where you were working that night. She didn't drive home 4 o'clock in the morning. You were driving home 4 o'clock in the morning. She did you a favor, hoping that you would act responsibly, that if something happened to this car while you were driving it, that she wouldn't be out any money. She expected you to pay for the car that she was renting for you. That was your agreement, wasn't it? That you were going to pay her for the rental, right?
I wasn't going to... No, I never agreed to her that I was going to pay for anything.
You mean she was just renting the car for you and she was going to pay for the rental?
Well, I was going to pay for the rental.
That's what I just said, so pay attention.
But I never said I will pay for any damages or anything like that. She signed that waiver herself. I mean, she should be taking responsibility for her actions for saying, hey, I'll rent a car for you.
You know, I read your papers, your complaint and your answer in preparation to do this case. I read your words, I read your words, and let me tell you the little notes that I made for myself. I said, brother smashes rental car that sister leased for him as a favor. Brother's answer is, duh. That was my note. That was my note. I was hoping I would come out here and hear something different from you, sir. That's why I gave you all the rope you needed.
But I feel like...
Grow up! Judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you.
All right, this is case number 7.
35-year-old nuclear power plant worker Scott Ladd is suing 40-year-old contractor Dell Lindquist for assaulting him outside a bar. Dell says Scott was harassing his girlfriend, and he put a stop to it.
Order. All rise.
Now, this is case number 59 on the calendar in the matter of Ladd versus Lindquist. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Ladd, according to what I've read, sir, you went into a tavern and you had half a dozen beers, maybe 4 or 5, ordered a large pizza to go, and as you were exiting the tavern, there was some sort of an altercation with the defendant. Then you claim outside he assaulted you seriously. Is that right?
That's correct.
His ultimate defense is there was some sort of a verbal altercation. You bet him $20 that you could whip his butt, and you did. That's your defense. So that it was a fair fight outside. That's your defense.
It was a
that you won the bet.
No, I haven't been paid.
That was cute, Mr. Lindquist. We'll see. All right, Mr. Ladd, had you ever seen this gentleman before?
Just as a patron of the bar.
What time did you arrive at the bar?
Approximately 7 o'clock.
And what time did this assault take place?
9:30.
So you were there for about 2.5 hours?
That's correct.
So what happened when they give you your pizza, you pay your tab, and you start to walk out?
Well, it's very busy as I'm going through the crowd. Supposedly, I bumped in to his girlfriend, which was sitting on a bar stool in the aisleway to go out the door. Supposedly, Mr. Lindquist confronted me about...
Not supposedly. Listen, stop with the supposedly. You tell me what you remember of that evening.
I remember
Did you remember
Lindquist
poking
confronting me.
her with the box, with the pizza box?
I don't recall that because it was so busy. I probably bumped several people basically going through the crowd.
Okay.
There was a small aisleway to walk through.
What did he say to you?
I can't recall his exact words, but he confronted me about poking his girlfriend with the pizza box. He threatened me with ripping my throat out.
That's a threat. Go ahead.
At that point there, I exchanged words with him also. I told him to back off, and there was some adjectives that were basically said.
By you?
Yes.
Okay. And did you continue to leave?
At that point, yes, I did.
He hadn't put his hands on you at that point?
No.
You walk out the front door. How far did you get? Was there a parking lot outside?
I was parked on the far end. This is a strip mall.
And were you at your car when this assault took place?
No, I was walking down the sidewalk.
And tell me what you recall.
What I recall is being hit in the back of the head, very hard. I thought it was a beer bottle. I have a medical report.
Then what happened? I'll look at all your reports in a minute.
I was on the ground. The defendant was on top of me. He struck me several times in the side of the head. I put my hands up, tried to defend myself. That's when the individual basically bit on to my right finger. As the individual was biting me, with the pain and the shock and everything else, I was grabbing his face, trying to make him to stop.
But you were on the ground?
That is correct, with him on top of me.
Go ahead.
At that point, somebody, if I recall, yelled that the police are coming. The individual let go of my finger at that point and struck me several other times in the side of the head again and got up and ran into the bar.
What happened when the police arrived?
Because this was a bar brawl, from what they call it, they stated if I wanted to press charges on the incident. At first, I said, yes, I do. The individual, which was the officer, explained to me that because there was no witnesses and this was mutual combatant and their part of what they considered.
Why, had they interviewed the defendant?
Well, there was another police officer inside the restaurant interviewing him.
Okay, go ahead.
They stated that they would have to put us in detox for 72 hours.
Because you were drunk?
I was not drunk at the time. I have my witness which will state how much alcohol I consumed within the 2.5 hours to my body weight of 225 pounds at 6'2".
How many beers did you have?
I believe it was 4.
Okay.
The officer stated that to the fact that he would have to charge both of us with assault.
So that you decided not to proceed?
Because of the 72 hours, I am an instrumentation control specialist in a nuclear generating power plant. I was scheduled to run certain tests. I could not afford not to be there.
So you decided not to press
That
charge?
is correct.
Okay. Can I see your medical reports, please?
Sure.
When did you go to the hospital?
My sister-in-law picked me up that night. These are my medical records. Would you like the expenses also now?
Not yet. Did you get any police reports?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to have them too, please. Thank you, Bert. Now I'd like to hear your version of the events.
Well, Mr. Ladd was walking out of the bar.
What time did you arrive at the bar?
9 p.m.
Your girlfriend was with you?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I asked him, are you leaving so soon? And he had said yes, and unless Kathy will buy me a beer, as he had his pizza box and poked her in the back. And didn't like what he was doing, and I says for him to stop that. He made a foul-mouthed remark that I don't care to repeat.
Well, repeat it.
He said he effed her in the and not to worry about it.
Right.
And that's when I made the comment that I'll bet you 20 bucks that I'll take you outside and kick your butt. And he walked around the corner and stood where the waitresses stand and motioned me like, well, come on, are we going to do this? And I followed him around, and he walked down.
Why did you do that? He's gone. He's leaving.
He's motioning me and egging me on, and he had bet me.
No. He didn't bet you. You bet him.
Well, he agreed to the bet.
Go ahead.
Got out the door, walked down he walked down at least 50 feet.
Right, so he's leaving.
He's leaving.
And his back is towards you.
No.
Well, his back has to be towards you, sir, unless he was walking backwards.
No, he was making remarks.
His back has to be towards you as he's walking, sir,
he was turned sideways.
So he's walking sideways, like
walking
a crane.
Sideways. Walking sideways, talking to me.
All right,
or
go ahead.
saying bad words. He sets his pizza box down and invites me on, are we going to get this done? When we first came together, he reached out and he grabbed me by the face as we were standing face to face, shoulder to shoulder. And
you weren't standing shoulder to shoulder with him?
No, I wasn't. But
no, you weren't standing shoulder to
square shoulder to shoulder, square shoulders to square shoulders. Reached out, grabbed me by the face.
Why? Why?
I don't know. I just imagine that to be face to face.
Well,
face to neck. Go ahead.
And he kind of grabbed my face to where I couldn't really get near him. We were going to fight. He grabbed inside my mouth and underneath my chin and started pulling me to the ground. And whether I bit him or he got cut on my teeth on the way down, I just happened to come out on top.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nuclear power plant worker Scott Ladd says he was assaulted by Del Lindquist after exchanging words with him in a bar. Del says when Scott insulted his girlfriend, he beat him up.
Which one of you ladies was present during the course of this altercation?
I was.
Can you step up, please? Tell me your name.
My name is Lisa.
Lisa what?
Lisa Tyson.
Ms. Tyson, do you work at the tavern?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do there?
I'm a bartender.
You know both of these gentlemen?
Yes, I do.
You ever had any difficulty with the plaintiff at the bar?
No, I haven't.
You ever had any problem with the defendant before at the bar?
Yes, I have. I've witnessed him making verbal remarks to other customers that would talk to his girlfriend.
Like what?
He told this other guy who was talking to his girlfriend that he wanted to rip his throat out.
He likes to say that. Clearly.
I guess. But then I immediately went over there and confronted the situation, and I warned Del that if he decided to fight in the bar or in the parking lot, he will be 86'd out of the bar for good.
Did you hear any interaction between the two of these gentlemen?
No, I didn't.
Did you wait on Mr. Ladd that evening?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall how much alcohol he consumed?
He had about 4 beers.
Have a seat. Thank you very much. You have any other witnesses that you want me to hear, sir?
Yes, I do. I'd like to have the manager of the bar step up.
Tell me your name.
Deb Miles.
Miss Miles, did you witness any part of this incident?
I was not outside. I did not see that. I was chatting with Kathy, Dell's girlfriend, and another gal.
This is girlfriend?
Right. Next thing I knew, a waitress from the dining room came out and said that there was a fight going on outside.
So you really didn't see anything?
I did not see that, no.
What did you want her to testify to?
I don't want to testify for her, but Kathy, Dell's girlfriend, knew nothing of this incident. She can support that claim for me.
Oh,
just
a second. Did you ask her what they were doing outside?
I asked her if she knew they were outside.
And what did she say?
She said no. And then she wanted to go outside. And I said, no, you have to stay in here, Kathy. You've been drinking. Don't go out there. Just stay out of it.
Was she drunk?
She did quite a few, in my opinion. I didn't personally serve her, so I don't know for sure.
Did she say anything about anybody doing anything untoward to her that evening?
No, no. We were just chatting, and the next thing we knew, this fight was going on. So we didn't hear any argument, anything like that.
Step up. What's your last name?
Dubé.
What do you remember?
I didn't see nothing outside, but I do remember him walking by.
He walked by, and what happened?
He said to him, leaving so early, he said, yes, I've had too much to drink. I'm going to take my pizza and me home. Unless Kathy wants to buy me a drink, poke me in the back. And it was real crowded. And I was talking to the manager, Michelle, on the right hand of me, and Debbie was down a chair from me.
Right.
And then I just started talking to Michelle, and then all of a sudden I heard him telling him to quit poking me in the back. And then as he was walking away, that's when he said what he did to me.
Which was?
I don't want to say it.
Well, I'd like to hear what you heard him say.
It just,
Really? Well, that's a nasty thing to say.
Yeah.
Did you think he was drunk?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Were you drunk?
No, I probably had 3 beers.
3 beers in a half hour?
2?
Maybe 3?
I just got there.
Well, maybe 3 beers in a half hour. And what about Mr. Lindquist? What did he have to drink?
He probably had 2.
Maybe 3. Well, the officer indicates that both suspects were intoxicated, and the effects of alcohol was very obvious on both of them.
Can I make a comment related to that?
Sure.
After being struck in the head several times and with what I believe with a beer bottle.
Did you see a beer bottle, by the way, when this altercation was over?
I did not know.
Okay. So it's possible that you were just hit on the back of the head with a fist. It's possible.
That's possible.
Doesn't make any difference. The medical records indicate that you were injured that evening. And injured
I don't want to interrupt you, but with the injury I sustained in my finger, you know, and the shock and the trauma and everything that was going on, if the officer smelled alcohol on my breath, with establishing 4 beers over a 2.5-hour period.
Doesn't make any difference, sir. I have to believe, Mr. Ladd, that the defendant, without provocation, assaulted you, and without provocation, rendered you, because of your larger stature, rendered you sort of in a position where he could, in fact, assault you, which was somehow getting you to the ground, because you are a larger stature than he is, and that would be smart. Being smart would render you on the ground as a result of being either hit in the back of the head with a fist or with something else. Not the way Mr. Lindquist indicates, because the officer nowhere in his report, sir, indicates that you have any scratches or marks on your face. That's really surprising if this assault took place, Mr. Lindquist, the way you indicated.
I have a police report that states that I have scratches.
Let me see. Suspect 1 had minor scratches or scrapes on his face. Suspect 2 possessed open wounds on his fingers and a slight laceration to his forehead. Mr. Lindquist, did you ever hear the expression when you were growing up, sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you've had trouble with people talking to your girlfriend before in the bar, according to the bar people?
Yes, Your Honor.
So this isn't an unusual occurrence to you. If you don't want people to talk to your girlfriend, sir, keep her in your apartment. Because if you take her to a bar where people sometimes get a little high, a little happy, and they may say something either in a polite vein or in a seductive vein, or sometimes, according to you, totally inappropriate things. If I believe what you attribute to him, it was totally inappropriate. But the reaction, especially if you know or believe that someone is intoxicated, you believed he was intoxicated, right, Kathy?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yes.
Then you just let it rest. Then I have to believe that he egged you on. Well, I don't believe that at all. I believe that the guy's taking his pizza and he's going home. He's out of there. You decided to follow him outside, which you did. And I believe that in order to get him in a vulnerable position, you hit him from behind.
In the forehead.
You hit him from behind. If you hit him from behind in the forehead, that's sort of like that. That doesn't happen, does it? You know,
only
you sort
in
of,
the movies.
Only in the movies. Only if you have very long arms. So you assaulted him. And you hurt him. And you have to pay. Period. And if you can't hold your liquor, don't drink. What were your medical expenses, sir?
I have a report. I do have insurance.
What's your out-of-pocket?
My out-of-pocket is $526.44. They have me on prescriptions yet, anti-inflammatories, to try to still get the swelling down in my finger. At this point...
Can I see your finger, please? Step up. You still have no feeling in the finger?
The finger is totally numb to light touch. The medical report...
Step back.
I'm sorry.
May I add something, Your Honor?
Just a minute, he's not finished yet. Then you can add whatever you like.
Okay.
You still have no feeling in the tips of your finger.
That's correct. I have lost the movement to totally squeeze my fingers all together. The doctor, last I seen, said if the swelling goes down over time and with these prescriptions, that it may go back.
Okay. Yes, now you wanted to say something.
Well, if I would jump him from behind, isn't that assault and battery? Wouldn't, you know, if I'm walking out in the parking lot and somebody jumps me from behind and the police come, I think I'm going to make a report or have him arrested, you know, because people...
Sure, unless you're inside with the other police officer who you spoke to that evening, is that right?
Yes.
And I assume you gave him the same cock and bull story you gave me. The way you indicated, that you were standing shoulder to shoulder to him and he put his fingers in your face, and so that's
Well,
how
he
you
set
bit
his
his finger?
pizza box down first.
What?
He set his pizza box down first. And if somebody got jumped from behind, don't you think there'd be pizza all over the place?
There
too?
might be. Where is there an indication that there wasn't? Where is there an indication
Wouldn't
that...
you think he'd want to be paid for his pizza too?
Are you kidding me or what?
No, I'm not kidding you. I'd be mad if
You
somebody...
got a hot temper.
If somebody knocked me down from behind and knocked my $20 pizza on the ground at the same time, and the police showed up, I would definitely file some charges here.
Well, he wanted to file charges, sir, but you told the police that this was a fight, a barroom brawl, that he actually started with you. He actually put his hands on you first. That's what you told me.
That is
that you
correct.
turned around shoulder to shoulder after you followed him out of the bar, and he took his hand and put it in your face, and probably as a result of the heavy pushing, he fell on top of you, and that's how he ended up on the ground, and probably on the weight of you both going down and his finger in your mouth, that's how his finger got lacerated, requiring medical treatment and stitches. That's what you told me.
Yeah, I grabbed his
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000 as requested. That's all. Your complaint in the amount of $5,000. This case is over.
Down, this is case number 142 in the matter of Bevilacqua versus Bonnet, and case number 143 in the matter of Kaiser versus Bonnet. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Perhaps we could finally put this unfortunate incident to rest. According to what I read, you were crossing the street.
Yes, ma'am.
And you allege that the defendant came into an intersection she shouldn't have been and hit you with her car.
Yes, ma'am.
She didn't severely injure you with her car. You jumped back. She hit you on your knee. Something. Where?
Right. Brushed me about here.
She brushed you. But you weren't hurt.
No, ma'am.
But you were angry. And then an interaction took place between the two of you that was most unfortunate on both of your parts, which resulted in you being arrested.
No, I was never arrested.
Taken into custody at some point, charged with an assault.
Charged, yes.
with an assault. All right.
Strong arm robbery.
Charged with something.
Okay.
And those charges were eventually dropped by the district attorney's office. But am I correct in reading between the lines in your complaint, sir, that there is a restraining order preventing you from going near the defendant?
Well, it's not a restraining order.
What is it?
I'm supposed to stay away from her, which is...
Is it an order for you to stay away from her?
It's not an official restraining order, no.
It is not.
No.
I mean, it's not written anywhere.
No.
The judge just told you to stay away from her.
Oh, no, it's stay away. It's not... Okay. I'm supposed to stay away from her until January 25th of 2002.
Where is that written?
I have it, Your Honor.
May I see it, please?
Those are the trial transcripts, Your Honor.
I'm just looking at the order because he's not sure it was an order. So after this case is over, Mr. Bevilacqua, you are directed to attend 3 hours of anger management classes by the 15th of March of 2001 and stay away from the victim.
Yes.
That was the order, signed by a judge.
Right.
Right. I mean, did you think I was just a fake person here that they picked out of, that they picked out of a supermarket? Didn't you think
No.
that I had any legal experience at all, sir?
Of course.
All right. So, Mr. Bevilacqua, what you want is all kinds of damages from the defendant because you were put through a court process, you were embarrassed, whatever. You want damages in the amount of $5,000. The defendant is cross-claiming. She says that you did, in fact, assault her, and she is counterclaiming for the exact same amount, $5,000. So we've reached a point where you were brushed by defendant's car. Pick it up from there, Mr. Bevilacqua.
Okay, I fell back, I yelled, yo. I looked up to see the driver of the car flash her middle finger at me and take off.
Okay.
Continued walking home, got up the street, and saw a car that looked just like the one that had just sideswiped me, frantically trying to get into this parking spot. And I just went up and said, excuse me, was that you who just turned on to 3rd off of Rose? And she said, yes. And then I said, well, you just sideswiped me with your car. And she said, want exact words?
Of course.
Super. She said, you, I don't care, I'm tired, I just came from the airport. And then I said, no, wrong answer. Okay, you ask me if I'm okay, you tell me that you're sorry, and then I go. And then she exploded.
What do you mean she exploded?
She screamed, don't you Tell me what to do, you stupid. And swung her fist at me.
Did she hit you?
I blocked it. Well,
And what did you do?
that was it. Walked, I said, told her she was crazy and she should watch it or she's going to kill somebody, and I walked away.
And then what happened?
I got about 10 feet away and boom, got it from behind. Turned around and it was her screaming. Screaming threats, screaming, obscenities, everything. And waving her sunglasses. There was a little scratch in her sunglasses that had fallen out of her hand.
How did they fall out of her hand?
Because they were in her hand when she hit me, along with her keys.
Did she ever ask you for your name? During that period of time, she was asking you for your name.
She may have, but you know what?
Okay.
She was crazy.
That's not what I asked.
I'm sorry. Yes, she probably
Don't be a
did.
wise guy in here, sir.
I'm sorry,
There's only
ma'am.
one wise person in here.
Yes, ma'am.
That's Bird.
So I couldn't go home because she was following me. She followed, so I just was walking around. She followed me for almost an hour, screaming. And at one point, we were near my apartment, and I wanted her to go away. I turned and tried to reason with her. And I said, listen, your road rage, your whatever drugs are on, are making you completely insane. Please leave me alone. And she screamed no, that I had to give her $200 and some for her sunglasses. And I said, I didn't break your sunglasses. I'm not paying for them. And then she said, oh, yeah, well, I'm going to tell the police you assaulted me, and they'll make you pay. And then I came to the store at the corner of 5th and Rose. And my girlfriend, Tamara, comes walking out of the store because she had been there, like buying something. And Tamara sees this going on, comes over and goes, oh, my God, are you okay? And she goes after Tamara. She starts screaming threats and obscenities at Tam, starting with, do you know? She's going to have Tamara thrown in jail, goes over behind the car, screaming, you're not going anywhere, you blah, 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 I'm going to track you down, blah. So she's blocking the exit. I went up to her from the side and said exactly, hey, lady, yo, I'm leaving. Got about 15 feet away, and then boom, got it again, turned to Tamara and screamed, go, get out of here, I'll deal with her, go. So I let her scream at me for another few minutes, and then take off. Cut through the alley, go to a friend's place.
Okay. Apparently, you got her license plate number.
That's correct.
And through that, you got his name.
That's correct.
Okay. Police contacted you. What out-of-pocket expenses did you have as a result of this incident, sir?
$12,500.
For what?
Legal fees.
You have a bill for that?
Oh, sure. Okay.
Okay. And I'd like to see that. Then I have a couple of pointed questions because I let you tell your story.
Here you go, thanks.
I see the checks made payable directly to the lawyer. Mr. Bevilacqua,
Yes.
I read your complaint very carefully, and what I want to know first is, you saw her park her car, and you had a conversation with her, and clearly you could see that you weren't getting anywhere. Why didn't you, before this thing escalated, just go over to her car and take down her license plate number? Go over to a phone booth, take out your cell phone, call the police and say, license plate number so-and-so just hit me and took off. I was a pedestrian. Wouldn't that have been the smart thing to do, sir?
Yes, it was, and I regret it now.
That would have been the smart thing to do.
May I explain?
No, that would have
Okay.
been the smart thing to do.
Yes,
Any
ma'am.
explanation would be stupid.
Okay.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephen Bevilacqua says he was falsely arrested for assault because Ann Bonnet lied to police. Stephen claims it all started when Ann nearly ran him over.
Now, why don't you tell me, you're going through the intersection and you were in the intersection at that point illegally?
I made a right-hand turn from a busy street onto a residential street. While I was going through the crosswalk, I saw a gentleman step off the far side of the crosswalk. I continued down the road and then heard this screaming and looked in my rearview mirror, and I saw a gentleman screaming at me and giving me the finger.
That was this gentleman?
Yes.
Now, I want to know, first, do you have any of the police reports?
I do.
I'd like to see them all, please.
It's the LAPD.
Where had you been coming from, Dr. Bonnet?
Coming from the airport.
Where had you been?
San Francisco.
For how long?
For 4 days, sir. Ma'am.
What were you doing there?
I was taking an exam.
How many days was the exam?
It was a 3-hour exam on Sunday, the day of the incident.
So it was a pretty stressful day.
It was.
Okay, continue.
So I went through the intersection and heard the screaming, looked behind,
Saw him. You didn't know you would hit him. Go
I
ahead.
had not hit him, Your Honor.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I believe that you probably brushed him. You didn't hurt him. But you didn't stop your car.
No,
Now,
I didn't
keep
stop
going.
my car.
Keep going.
I also held up my right middle finger in the rearview mirror. I continued up and over a hill, another 1,000 feet, to my residence and parked on the right-hand side of the street. I was getting my stuff out of the car when a man came, who I did not recognize, came running up to me and said, "Did you just turn onto this street?" I said, "Yes." He started swearing at me at that point and said, "You are the so-and-so who almost hit me. Do you realize that?" And then you gave me the finger. And I said, "You gave me the finger first." At which point he became enraged, lunged at me with his right hand, scratched my right face, took my glasses, threw them on the ground, and they broke. The glasses are here, and I have photographs as well.
Well, I'd like to see the photographs, and could you please indicate in this police report where it indicates that you were injured? Take a look at these police reports and show me where it indicates you were
I have
injured.
a photo of the injury, ma'am.
I don't want to see the photo. Well, I'll look at the photos of the injury. I want to see in the police reports, because they're voluminous, where police always indicate what the marks are that they've seen, what was the complaint. I want to see where the police officers noted any injuries to you.
Here at the bottom, it says she took pictures of the scratch to my face.
Let me see.
Last paragraph.
Now, I want to see where the officer wrote down on a report. You see, on the first page of this report, he writes down type of property taken, receipt, nature of the injury, none, according to the police officer. Nature of injury, none. Why?
I wanted to find out if you wanted to take notice. They took the picture.
Yeah, they noticed nothing. Neither do I. I noticed what looks like a pimple on your forehead.
I was lucky it was a small scratch.
I said I noticed what it looks like a pimple on your forehead. I'm very smart. I don't think his body came into contact with your forehead, madam. I believe that he might have knocked the sunglasses off of your face. Maybe he did that, and maybe the sunglasses were in your hand, as he says, and they fell to the ground, or he knocked them to the ground. I believe that that's possible, too. But I don't believe that he ever put his hands on you. And anybody who would believe that, looking at this picture of this pimple, is a fool. Go ahead. Keep going.
I picked up the sunglasses and I said, "You just broke my sunglasses. You can't do that." He said, "Yes, I can. This is road rage. I can do anything I want to you."
Fine. At that point, Dr. Bonnet, what would a smart, intelligent, educated person do?
I
would go home.
He knew where I lived, ma'am. He was at my house. I was afraid of him.
So you follow him in the street? That's what you did. You followed him in the street.
That's correct.
And after you followed him in the street, he says you were yelling obscenities at him. Subsequently to that, you accused him of a strong-armed robbery. That's what the police report says.
That's correct.
Well, that was a lie.
That
was a lie.
It's not a lie, Your Honor.
Sure it is. Just like it would be a lie if he said, "I'm filing a report, assault with a deadly weapon." Your car. Car's a deadly weapon. You were where you shouldn't have been. There was a four-way stop sign. He's a pedestrian. He had the right of way. Yes, there was a four-way stop sign. That's what it says right here. If he's out in the street, you have no business moving. So you touched him. That's assault with a deadly weapon. Would that have been overkill, Dr. Bonnet?
That would have been, since it didn't happen.
That would have been overkill if he reported that. Clearly, he wasn't injured. He got up, he walked, he wasn't injured. But he expected somebody to stop and say, "I'm sorry, forgive me, I didn't realize that I hit you. Are you okay?" Instead, you're stressed. According to the police reports, you've gotten 3 hours sleep for the last 5 days because you were studying for these exams. You come home to the airport, they lost your luggage. It was a long day. It was a miserable day. And you acted inappropriately, especially when you filed a complaint against not only him, stand up, but her.
Your Honor, I did not file a complaint.
Oh, yes, you did. When you report to the police a strong-armed robbery and that she's driving the car because you wanted to be able to get his name, and the police go to her house and intimidate her and walk in with handcuffs and tell her that there's complaint of a strong-armed robbery and she's driving the getaway car all over your lousy pair of sunglasses?
The robbery was not the sunglasses, Your Honor. He took a piece of paper from me. That was what the police...
Because you were acting like a nut!
I was not.
You were acting like a nut! Maybe you were stressed, maybe you were tired, But you were acting like a nut. Any smart woman, if they're faced with somebody who is acting inappropriately and you think he's acting inappropriately, I don't necessarily think so. You could have killed him in your state of stress, and you just kept going. And aside from that, you flipped him off. I would have been infuriated too, but you're a woman and slightly more vulnerable. So if he comes up to you and if he's furious and he knocks your sunglasses to the ground, you take your sunglasses and you say, forget it. How many blocks did you follow him?
He followed me.
How many blocks did you follow him?
2. May I tell the rest of my story?
Sure. Because then you're trying to get her license plate. You have the piece of paper in your hand. I read the reports, right? He comes up to you and grabs the piece of paper out of your hand. Is that right?
That's
so
correct.
far, right? I wouldn't want a nut like you to know where my girlfriend lived either. You were acting like a nut. And then you report that as a strong-arm robbery with her driving the getaway car?
The police decided that that was a strong-arm robbery, the keeping of the paper, which he later returned to the police. He had it in his possession.
I find that you're responsible for his legal fees. And the most I can give him is $5,000, which is exactly what I'm giving him, and I am dismissing your counterclaim. You acted inappropriately on that day, and you should have apologized from the very beginning. Case over. Your counterclaim is dismissed, and I'm awarding him $5,000. Now, you sit down.
Thank you.
I want you to describe to me, Miss Kaiser.
Yes.
I want you to describe to me, after this whole incident is over, you go home. Your boyfriend tells you take off. The nut is following you, right? She's got your license plate number. How would you receive this first alert from the police?
3 policemen showed up at my door, banged on it, and let me know that if I didn't open the door immediately that they were going to come in.
What did they say?
They came in and actually started asking me questions about my car. I didn't really know what they were getting at, and they considered me to be evasive and started telling me that if I didn't tell them what they wanted to know, they were going to arrest me on the spot. And since it was a Sunday, I wouldn't be able to contact a lawyer, I wouldn't be able to be bailed out or arraigned, and I would have to spend the night in jail.
What do they want to know? They want to know his name.
They wanted to know who was driving my car. They basically were backing into asking me his name, and I honestly didn't know what they wanted at the beginning. When they did, I told them actually fairly early in the conversation, but once it started getting this detailed, that I would much prefer to speak to them after I spoke to an attorney. And once again, we were back to, you're going into prison, now put your hands out, we've got cuffs.
So how long did they stay in your house?
About 2.5 hours. They kept me in my house. After the hour of questioning, I had to wait an hour and a half until she came down, looked at my car, identified it, and left.
So the next day it was over?
Actually, it was over in terms of my experiences with the police, and that was frightening, but it was not over in that both the police that we talked to and the Santa Monica City Attorney's Office were still considering pressing charges against me.
As being a co-conspirator in a strong-armed robbery?
The driver of the getaway car in a strong-arm robbery.
You see how ridiculous things got?
I never accused her of anything, Your Honor.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the case of Kaiser v. Bonnet in the amount of $2,500.
Fair enough.
Step up.
Yes.
A couple of things to say. Could you have behaved better that day?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Certainly did nothing criminal that day. I find that based upon what little I've heard and from looking at these photographs and listening to the story, you did nothing criminal that day. Certainly nothing that would have required you to spend $12,500 for a lawyer. I find, however, that despite the fact that he could have behaved differently that day, I'm merely taking down your license plate, you were the precipitating factor in all of this trouble because stressed out as you may be, you didn't have the right of way, you brushed him with your car, he doesn't look like a nut to me that he would follow you if you hadn't even tapped him with your car. See, all he was looking for was an apology. But you kept going and were rude besides. You precipitated it. You pay. That's all.
Case number 174. Now, this is case number 236 on the calendar in the matter of Ronstadt versus Nelson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Miss Ronstadt, when did you and the defendant start to live together?
Approximately May 1st, 2000.
And when did you separate?
He left on the 19th of July, 2001.
Were you both working at the time?
I was not working. He had lost his job the day prior.
So how did you support the household?
I have a nervous system disease, and I was receiving disability payments.
You were receiving disability?
Which exceeded his income.
No, that's a false statement, Your Honor.
Oh.
Yes, it is.
What kind of work were you doing, sir?
I'm a computer technician.
And how much did you earn last year?
$63,000.
Okay. Now, did you move into a new apartment together, or did you move in with him, or did he move in with you?
We moved into a new apartment together. I was making $110,000 at the time I lost my job.
and I was receiving disability payments in excess of $2,600 a month.
Your Honor, she was borrowing money from her mother to support this.
This lawsuit has to do with the fact that you claim that you purchased for your joint use a motorcycle.
That's correct.
That's a false statement. Your
Mr. Nelson, I don't want to hear from you until I look in your direction or ask you a question.
Okay.
That he won't return to you.
That's correct.
Mr. Nelson says that you purchased this motorcycle for him as a gift. That's your defense.
Yes, Your Honor, that's true.
Okay. Now, I would like you to tell me the circumstances surrounding the purchase of this motorcycle. When was it purchased?
It was purchased on April 20th, the year 2001. I purchased it because when I lost my job, we had a fair amount of money to live on, but by April, it became apparent that it just wasn't going to make it. I talked to Mr. Nelson, took a full 401k distribution. I got approximately $17,000 left. I have all the proof here. The bike cost $9,400. I did so because he was driving a 4Runner. The 4Runner was costing about $500 a month in just gas alone. And we needed to cut down on our daily expenses. We could not fork out that amount of money on a daily basis for gas. Plus, he had to pay a toll fee to go across the bridge to get to work. Using a motorcycle, you avoid the toll fee.
So?
So we bought the bike.
Now I'll hear from you.
Your Honor, on my birthday, 4/10, she told me that for my birthday, as a gift, that she would be buying a motorcycle for me. And it's a wonderful gift. Plus, it will save on the gas and all these other things. This was not for our use, it was for my use, and it was a gift as a birthday present. 4/10, we had discussed going to look at motorcycles on the weekend. We did so on Sunday, April 15th, and put a deposit of $100 on the motorcycle in question. We were waiting on the rest of the 401k loan to come in, and it did come in. Sorry?
Not a 401k loan, a 401k payout. She got cash.
Okay, yeah. Well, she took that money and told me that she was going to pay the debts that were incurred because of her out-of-control spending with eBay and whatnot, the debts that she was creating, as well as buying a motorcycle for me as a gift. We went back on 4/21 and paid the remainder of the balance. She was talking to the salesman, and I have a written statement from the salesman.
Don't tell me what the salesman said.
This is very important
The
because
salesman should have been here.
he couldn't come here because he's a salesman. He couldn't make it. He doesn't know me. Why would he take the time to come to the
Not
court?
a reason. That's hearsay.
Okay.
Mr.
Well,
Nelson.
she also told Jamie Curley and my mother. We rode the motorcycle to my mother's house, and she boasted of this beautiful gift that this generous gift that she bought for her son, as a birthday gift.
Why did you leave in July?
We were having some difficulties. We were having a lot of difficulties, and she was adding a lot of stress to my life, and plus my children. She was not really caring for my children or very sympathetic towards the situation between my children and I. She didn't want them around. She was trying to control how often I saw my children and whatnot.
But that wasn't a recent thing. That probably had been going on for a while.
Yes.
Was it going on before April of 2001?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
So what'd you take this very expensive gift for?
Because it was a gift for me.
So why did you accept a very expensive gift if things weren't going well?
They weren't going too well, but I mean, these things were tolerable, and it was getting progressively worse. When she lost her job, things just kept going downhill from there. And, I got to a point where I was just fed up and I was done.
Now, one of the defenses that you have to this action, other than the fact that it was a gift, is that you say that jointly you purchased furniture for this apartment that you moved in together. And the only thing that you left with was the motorcycle.
It wasn't, I wanted to leave clean. I didn't want to have it drag out or anything. And we had discussed, she said I could take, I told her three things that I wanted. I'm going to take, I said I'd like to take the computer desk, the DVD player, and our big screen TV. And that's it, and you can have the rest. And I'm leaving. And I didn't include the motorcycle because that was a gift and that was mine. So I didn't ask her, is it okay if I take my motorcycle? I had a police civil standby because her son got out of control that night and brought two friends over.
Did you, in fact, take this TV?
No, I did not. She wouldn't allow me to take the TV because
so did you take anything from the apartment?
No. Only, excuse me, I took my clothes, my belongings, And
the motorcycle.
And the motorcycle. And the police wanted me to get my stuff and get out. They were there on a civil standby, and I was standing right next to an officer when I rode off with the motorcycle.
Now, who paid for all the furniture in the apartment?
She paid partially, and we had a joint account and whatnot, so I don't know exactly how much of what we paid for.
How much money did you put into the joint account each week?
Actually, I have it right here. I have statements right here.
I have a statement also, Your Honor.
How much money did he put into the joint account?
$1,263 every 2 weeks.
Okay, and what was the rent on the apartment?
$1,800.
$1,850, Your Honor.
Excuse me. This motorcycle was not an issue, if I may. This motorcycle was not an issue until after I'd left and she saw Miss Curley riding on the back of my motorcycle. We left the place, and then Miss Rungstad told me that she said, now, because of this stunt, you're going to lose the motorcycle. And that's when it became the issue.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lori Rongstad is suing her ex-boyfriend, Eric Nelson, for the cost of a motorcycle. Eric says Lori is jealous of his new fiancée.
Is it accurate that he put in about it would come out to about $2,700 a month?
He put it in, but he also had bills that used up all of that money.
I want to know who paid for furnishing the apartment.
I did. I sold over $80,000 worth of stock options. I bought all of the bedroom furniture prior to us ever moving in and charged it on an American Express card.
Are you telling me that he did not contribute to purchasing anything for the apartment?
No, ma'am, he didn't, because I had the cash. I had over $30,000 when we moved in. The only things that we needed to buy once we moved in were we bought a big screen TV, a DVD player, and a couple of VCRs.
Where did you pay for that from?
At that time, we did not have a joint account.
Where did the money come from?
From myself, from my stock option sales.
Your Honor, I also had stock that I had sold as well, and plus I also put extra money in that we bought stock together, and she put it in her son's name, and then sold the stock, and we used that money as well, so it's not going to look like it came from me at all, but that's what happened.
There's never been any stock in my son's name ever, and that can be proved through IRS records if needed.
I'd like to pull
Now,
those in.
I have one other question. The car that you had, the truck that you had, was that sold?
No, ma'am.
Did you continue to use it for the months of May and June?
Yes, I did at times, yes.
So you kept that. Do you drive?
I do drive, but I have my own vehicle.
What kind of vehicle do you have?
At the time, I had a Chrysler Concorde. However, it was tampered with, and the engine no longer worked, so I had to turn that in and buy a new car.
But when this motorcycle was purchased, you did not sell the other car that he had.
No.
That car was retained.
That's correct.
Now, do you have both vehicles now, sir? The motorcycle and that other car?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
You have both?
Yes.
Okay, and you had both in the month of May?
Yes, I did.
And you had both in the month of June?
Yes.
It was a gift. It was a gift, Miss Rostad. Now, it may have been a gift that you decided should not be a gift because the romance didn't last more than a couple of months after you gave it to him, but that's really not dispositive.
No,
I would accept what you said to me about saving all the money because of saving all the gas money, et cetera, if the agreement was that he was going to sell the car that he had or the truck that he had so that there would be no additional expense, but there is certainly no saving by having two vehicles, two insurance, two repairs, two everything else. I mean, I think that, yes, oh yes.
May I
think that it is, no. I think that it's probably not the moral thing to do to accept this very pricey gift, sir, from somebody where the relationship wasn't going right. You know, guys like big toys, so you're going to take it anyway because where else were you going to get a $9,000 present? But I certainly think it was not the moral thing to do. Do we understand each other?
Yes, I do. I left that house, Your Honor, without taking anything, so
well, my
understand
sense is, from what the plaintiff tells me, that she had far more financial resources to spend to furnish that house than you did. I was a little sympathetic when I first read your answer, and you said, I walked out of this relationship with nothing. We had furnished a house for $25,000, and I just left with this gift and my clothes, until I ascertained, sir, that you have children for whom I'm sure you pay child support, that you did put in certain joint monies into a joint account, but that went to pay off some bills. You had a car, you had insurance, you had gas. That eats up what you put in to the joint account. So I don't see that you had a lot left over to buy furniture. whether it was a big screen TV, because that would have been a single guy's paradise to leave a relationship with a big screen TV and a motorcycle. So I'm sorry I can't help you, madam.
May I please say a couple other items that I was not able to say?
Sure.
Anything that was a gift, I gave him. I bought him Yardrow Eagles. I bought him a number of very expensive items. I gave those to him. Those were pure gifts. I was down to all of the last money I had in my life, my 401k. I would not have used half of that to buy him a gift. Also,
yes, you did.
No, he also did not.
Yes, you did.
Ma'am, he also did not use.
You shouldn't have used. If it wasn't a gift, you should not have used half the money that you have in your whole life to buy him a motorcycle.
Your Honor.
That's not smart.
I know.
And don't give me all the baloney about he was going to save money on gas. Common sense suggests to me that if you were going to buy somebody a car to save money.
Why did I put it in my name?
No. Listen to me carefully. You would buy him a car for $8,000.
It doesn't get across the bridge fast.
Hey! Did I look at you and ask you a question? A motorcycle is not something that one buys to save money.
It is.
No.
I
a
also grew up with
four-cylinder
them.
little car just to get you to and from work can save money.
Yes.
Right? A motorcycle is a boy toy.
I like motorcycles, and I've always had them.
Good. Buy yourself another one. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's obviously filled the judge's head with lies. I mean, they won when they're purely evil people.
We were next door neighbors, and Lori, Lori won't take any responsibility for their breakup.
I have 20 police reports of all the harassment.
A woman scorned.
After I left her, I got involved with Jamie Curley, and she's off at that.
Down in the matter of Stouch versus Stalling. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Mr. and Mrs. Stouch, was this a first wedding for both of you?
First for him, second for me.
According to your complaint, you booked the defendant's hall for your wedding.
Correct.
You were unhappy with what you saw when you finally saw it, and you want her to give you back all kinds of money, including a whole bunch for your aggravation.
Yes.
When was your wedding scheduled?
August 11th.
And when did you book the defendant's hall?
Right around June 5th.
Where is the defendant's hall located?
In Eureka Springs, Arkansas.
And where were you living?
Kansas City, Kansas.
Why were you getting married in Arkansas?
Well, we've learned a lot about Arkansas, about Eureka Springs, a nice little village, and...
How far is it from...
It's 5 hours, but there's a lot of wedding chapels in Eureka.
So you mean you were schlepping everybody out there, this 5-hour drive?
Yeah, a lot of his family and friends are from
the area.
That's what I'm getting at. So a lot of your family was actually there already.
They were within 2 hours away.
Okay. And you booked the place sight unseen?
Over the internet, we found it.
Over the internet, but sight unseen. You never went to look at it?
Correct.
You never went to look at it? You never had any of your family or friends who live in Arkansas go to look at it?
No, my family is 2 hours away from Arkansas.
That's okay. A 2-hour trip. Which family? You have parents, sisters, brothers?
Sisters, brothers, and...
So you say to your brother or your sister, do me a favor, take a ride up to this place. I saw it on the internet. I think it's a nice place. I'd like you to take a look at it and make sure it's, what we think it is. All right. So you went to look at the chapel how much before the wedding?
We showed up a day before the wedding. We had no reason to believe that it wasn't going to be a nice place. The pictures on the internet shows us it's nice. We're not supposed to just assume that it's a dump.
Well, that's what you found. According to you, you found that it was a dump, right?
According, yes, but the internet pictures were totally different.
How much of a deposit had you given her?
A $200 deposit.
And she was supposed to provide other things as well. Food, right?
Supplied food.
Cake? Now, you got there a day before you saw this place, and it was, according to you, a dump.
Very much so.
So what'd you do?
Spent the whole next day trying to find a new place. I went to the Chamber of Commerce. I went to try to get a hold of her. It took many hours to get a hold of her. The Chamber finally got a hold of her for us. I explained to her that we couldn't get married there. She refused to give us any money back. Then the Chamber actually got a hold of her, and she decided to give us $275 and give us the food and the cakes. But the cake was, in my opinion, unedible. It tasted like the place smelled.
Shh. I'd just like to see some photographs if you have them.
Um,
I'm not to you yet.
There's before, what it was supposed to look like. And then there's some, we have quite a few that we've taken of what it actually looks like.
Okay.
And if you'll notice, the floor is completely destroyed. And on the internet picture, it looks like the floor is brand new.
This is the picture that you're showing me of what the inside of the chapel looked like on the internet,
Yes.
right? Do you have this picture?
No.
Well, and I can't tell what it looked like, what this picture looked like.
do they have a picture of it being destroyed, the floor being destroyed?
Yes, we do.
They have pictures of the floor looking a little bit seedy, but
That's where we have to stand when we were getting married.
That doesn't impress me one way or another. One are outside pictures, one are inside pictures.
Correct.
So let me understand this. You gave her a $200 deposit.
Yes.
She gave you back $275, right?
Correct.
She gave you all the food, right?
Correct.
So what do you want?
We paid more than $275. We didn't pay just a $275 deposit.
Well, what did you pay?
Yeah, the total was $857.53. We also had to come up with another $857 to get married somewhere.
On a last minute.
That day, we had to find another place to get married. There was no way we could have got married there.
Based upon the pictures that you show me, I don't see that there's any way that you couldn't gotten married there.
Would you have gotten married there?
I don't know. I can't tell from your pictures, sir.
Look at the outside. There's beer bottles outside.
I'm not talking about the outside. I'm talking about the inside.
Well, the outside has a lot to do with it.
Listen
Beer
to me. You're
bottles.
talking, hey, don't speak to him.
I'm sorry.
You're talking about misrepresentation. Do you understand? You're talking about misrepresentation. You showed me a picture on the internet, this photograph.
Correct.
So what I asked you is, show me this picture of what this area was when you arrived. You don't have that picture. So I cannot make a judgment as to whether this picture misrepresented to you what the place looked like. You got a responsibility. Listen, I made a lot of weddings in my life, got a lot of kids, and I got married a couple of times myself. I never chose a place to get married based upon a picture. Never.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tony and Nicole Stouch say they rented Cheryl and Stallings' wedding site via the internet. The Stouches say the location turned out to be a dump.
Now, if she gave you $275 back in cash, plus she gave you all the food for the wedding.
There's no way we could have came up with the food and the cake.
We had to take the food. We didn't want the food. We had less than 24 hours left.
Did you have other people cater the wedding?
No, she was
So you
in charge of
used
catering.
that food to feed your people.
If we didn't use that food, we would have been out food and cake. We had to use that food, yes. we
So
did.
you used it. That's what you
Yes,
used to feed
but
your...
it was awful.
I've been to weddings where the chicken was rubbery myself. That doesn't mean that the people sued them.
He works evenings, I work days. There was no possible way to even, I mean, we couldn't have done it.
Let me explain something to you. That's your responsibility.
It's also her responsibility to have a website that the pictures and her place looks like. I mean,
That's your responsibility. You're planning a wedding. Some people may like to plan a wedding in a dungeon. Some people may think it's kinky. Some people like to get married jumping out of airplanes, holding hands with a rabbi, right? Not my thing. Some people like to get married at the top of a roller coaster. They think that that's interesting. It's not my thing. You were charged with the obligation of choosing a place. You chose this place based upon this picture.
And based on talking to her and telling us how nice it was.
Right. Well, what is she supposed to say? She's supposed to say it's not nice?
Well, it's not nice.
That's your fault. Send your sister over to the place and say, listen, we're contemplating doing this place. Do me a favor. Take a 2-hour ride. I want to make sure that this place, the whole place, is similar to this one picture that I saw on the internet. You didn't do that.
Every
What are
internet
you
site-
complaining about? You got married. You had your family and friends there. You had food. The food wasn't great. You know what you do when you do a wedding? You go to the place and you say, this is the place? Good. Now I want a tasting. You're going to supply the food. I'd like to taste whatever you say that you're going to provide so that I can select a menu. That's what people do. If you're doing this thing over the phone, you run certain risks. You had opportunities. You work days, you work nights. I'm sure that both of you don't work 7 days a week.
6 days.
Well, that's not 7. On the 7th day, you travel. If it's so important to you to see what the place looks like and to select the menu, you get in the car and you go there and take a look to see what it's about. You don't come in kvetching later that the place didn't look nice when I got there. Listen, you got married, be happy. Goodbye. Case is dismissed.
All right, excuse you, may step out.
The Miracle Mansion is not the place to get married.
I'm not ashamed of my building.
My wedding was pretty much ruined.
And my website pictures are accurate.
It was awful.
Yeah, this is case number 228 on the calendar in the matter of O'Connell versus Cruz. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. and Mrs. O'Connell, the defendant is your former daughter-in-law.
Correct.
Married to your son, and they had 3 children, according to your complaint. Is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
right? You claim that you made a loan to her in order for her to be able to relocate, I assume after the divorce,
Yes, ma'am.
with 3 children.
Yes.
And she has not repaid that loan.
Yes.
And the defendant says that loan was no loan, but a gift. So we will get to that. And she has a cross complaint. I don't know what that's about, but I'm sure you'll explain it to me. Okay.
Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Just a second. I have questions. Okay. At the time that you advanced this money to the defendant, where were you living?
The state of Florida.
And where was the defendant living?
State of Maryland.
And tell me the circumstances surrounding her moving from Maryland to Florida.
Mainly, Your Honor, is that she had called me up on a Sunday afternoon, practically in tears. She didn't know what to do. She was being evicted from the apartment that she was living in because she didn't have the monies for the rent.
When was that?
The beginning of August of 2000.
Okay.
She pretty much begged for our help. She didn't know what to do. Her own mother wouldn't sign a lease for her to make sure that the monies for the rent were paid each month, because if Lisa failed to do that, the mother didn't want to be responsible.
How old were your 3 grandchildren at that time?
At the time...
4, 7, and 11.
And where was your son? In what state?
He was living in New York.
Okay, go ahead.
So she begged for our help. She didn't know what to do. She said she was going to have to go to a shelter or live in the car. She didn't have any money. Could we please help her? We discussed with her what we would be able to do.
Well, what did you say to her and what did she say to you?
We told her that we would advance her the monies to move down here. I would have an apartment rented for her, have to pay first, last, and security. I would have utilities established if I needed to pay a deposit, but that I did expect the monies back from her. We were not in a position to give her a gift. Okay, this was a loan only. I would even have a job secured for her in Florida, which I did. And as long as the utilities and the rent and the apartment was in my name, that I would make sure I would pretty much manage the monies coming in through her salary as well as her child support.
Is this what you discussed with her?
Yes, ma'am, to make sure that everything was paid for.
And what about your son? How come she was penniless in Maryland?
Well, she wasn't penniless, Your Honor. He was paying child support.
How much?
$328 every other week.
So he was paying $150 a week for the support of 3 children.
That's what they deemed necessary for him to pay.
What kind of work does he do?
He's a police officer. Your Honor, if I may, he had offered to pay more, but based upon his salary at the time that he got divorced, he was only told that he needed to pay $154.
I'm just trying to figure out how come she had absolutely no money. Now I understand why she had no money. Is your family in Maryland?
No, it is not.
Where's your family?
My family was in New York.
When you were living with your husband, were you living in New York or in Maryland?
In New York with my ex-husband.
So what did you move to Maryland for?
Maryland, I moved because I have friends there. I just wanted to start over with the kids in a better area.
Had you discussed that with your husband before you moved to Maryland?
With my ex-husband, I had never any contact once he left with the other woman. He never came back.
So he left you in New York?
He left me with the 3 kids, no money, an eviction notice, all the power.
So that's why you moved to Maryland?
Right.
Okay. Go ahead. So then she comes down to Florida.
So we advanced her the monies to come down to Florida.
How much in total did you advance her?
I advanced her a total of almost $9,000, which $2,400 was paid back, and that's where it stopped.
When did she stop making payments to you?
She stopped making payments through her ex-husband's child support in November
What do you
of
mean
2000.
through her ex-husband's child support? What does that mean?
What she was doing is turning over one of the child support checks to me as repayment for what I was advancing her.
Now, when they came down to Florida, your daughter-in-law and the 3 children, did you see them regularly?
Oh, yes, we saw them regularly.
That was a good
They were
thing.
a good part of their life.
And they still see them regularly?
No.
Yes, they
No,
do.
ma'am, we don't.
Yes,
No, ma'am, we don't.
September 8th, they took them to the movies and out to eat. Right after that, the week after, September 15th, my father-in-law took my 3 children to the library and got them library cards. Okay, they do see them. They
They
do.
may not see them the way they like to see them, but it's good at least that they
Yes,
see them.
they do
That's a good,
see them.
That's a good thing.
After that was when I was served, and they have not seen the children, and that was their choice. Never mind. My children have nothing to do with what's going on between us.
Well, that's
their
very-
grandparents.
That's very good.
And they have not called to see them.
You should.
No, we did, Your Honor. That's not
She's not
entirely
living in
true.
the house.
The last time I called her up, I said, I want to establish grandfather night again. I want to be able to take those kids out every Monday like I used to do before. And her word was, I'll think about it.
Your Honor, I'm being charged for every Monday that they took them
No,
out.
we're not,
No.
Your Honor. We
Yes,
are-
they are.
Just a second.
Yes,
What do you
I
mean-
am.
what do you mean
If
being
you
charged?
look at the suit that they're charging me, they're charging me for times where they took them out to eat, paper goods, a birthday cake, a birthday present they bought them.
Something must have happened.
They are
What-
jealous of my mom. I can tell you
What
the whole
happened?
story.
All right, because something must have happened to you, because here you have good people,
Yes, very good, and I love them to death for everything
good
they
people
did.
who try to do the right thing. You call up and you say, this is not going well. I'm prepared to come to Florida, but I don't have any money. These don't look like really rich people, right?
Correct.
So it's not as if the money was free-flowing. You did it because you wanted your only 3 grandchildren to have some sort of stability and security. So far they're okay. And for a long time, they were an integral part of the kids' lives. What I want to know is what happened
I can
to
tell you.
change that?
What happened was I came down here first with the children.
To Florida.
To Florida. And everything, like she said, was fine. There was never a verbal agreement of you have to pay me back. It was, we are going to help you because we know that you're having a tough time with no child support from my ex-husband. When I came down, they had everything prepared, which turned out to be a lie.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Claire and Brian O'Connell are suing their former daughter-in-law, Lysandra Cruz, for a loan to move. The O'Connells say Lysandra is keeping them from seeing their grandchildren.
Go ahead.
The apartment that supposedly I have proof here that I paid the security and I paid the first month October rent and every rent after that. Once I got here, I took over all the bills, paying them, which I have every receipt and every proof that I have paid every single bill that was under her name.
Were you working?
Yes.
Was it a job that your mother-in-law had found for you?
Yes.
What kind of job?
It is a computer analyst for a bank.
Great.
Yeah.
And who takes care of the children? Who was
They
taking
go
care
to
of
the
children?
YMCA after-school program.
Wonderful. Go ahead.
Okay. So everything was going okay. What started happening was she started meeting me every payday after work and made sure that I went to the bank with her and everything was paid like a little child. It was like a controlling thing started happening.
What was paid?
The phone bill, the light bill, the rent, everything, which I kept saying to her, I can do on my own. I am not a child. I know how to do this. She had the key to the house. She would come into the apartment while I was sleeping. She would come in while I was at work because neighbors would tell me, what was your mother-in-law doing in your apartment while you're working? Started getting very scary. I started calling my mother and telling her, Ma, this is really bad. They have total control of me. I cannot take this. I need help. The whole thing started was she wanted the family together in Florida because they wanted to grow up with the grandchildren.
I think that's
and
great.
everybody be together. That's what happened. Once my mother came down to Florida, she was going to stay with me until she found an apartment and a job. Well, this is where everything happened, where she got very jealous. My mother-in-law, Claire, wanted me to charge my mother $300 a week for my mom to stay with me, which I refused. I said, this is my mother. I cannot charge my mother for staying with me. There is absolutely no way I could do it. She came to the house, confronted me in front of my mom, and said, speak up now, wanted me to tell my mother that she had to pay me to stay, plus the money was going to go to her, not me, even though I was paying the rent.
You mean to pay off this loan?
Supposedly what I owed her. It started all out of jealousy, ma'am. All out of jealousy, Your Honor. And it shouldn't have been this way, because I love them equally.
Oh, all terrible. All very sad. Are you working?
Yes, I am.
You live with your daughter and your 3 grandchildren, or do you have your own place?
I have my own place,
Now.
and now she's living with me. And the
Stand
2
up.
children. Sorry.
So you left the apartment that your mother-in-law
I was
originally
thrown
found,
out.
and you moved into a new place with your mom.
I was thrown
When
out.
did you do that?
We left the
In
apartment in August.
Sounds to me like you are a very responsible, caring gal.
Very.
And not, hopefully, not let this interfere with your children having wonderful relationships with both of their sets of grandparents. So that's wonderful. And Mr. and Mrs. O'Connell, I think that you're lovely people.
Yes, but it's not entirely true what she says,
It's
Your
not
Honor.
true what she says, Your Honor.
Listen to me.
Okay.
Miss Cruz, by her own statements, doesn't deny that she owes you some more money, that this was not a gift. Because if she was paying you back, then it's clear to me that it was the understanding between the two of you that the money that you advanced her would be returned when she could.
Right.
It's one of those unusual cases where you all sound like absolutely lovely people, and I'm not going to look at all of your bills and everything else, and I'm going to tell you why, Mr. and Mrs. O'Connell, because I don't want you to say or do anything that will permanently alter the relationship that you have with your daughter-in-law. And you really have to make an arrangement so that they can see the kids
They
sort of
do.
regularly, and shouldn't allow this thing
Your
here.
Honor, they do. What I am mostly afraid of, the last time they took my children, my daughter Jessica came back hysterical crying because as kids they do ask, Grandma, Grandpa, can you buy me this, can you buy me that? She asked them to buy her a sweater. Claire say, I will not buy your sweater because your mother gets child support. Now, how can you tell a child that? My daughter came back hysterical crying. I am totally afraid for them to go with them.
They're not going to say that anymore. If they said it, maybe they need a reality check.
Your Honor, I said, excuse me, Jesse, I love you very much, but Grandma is all spent out, okay? All these times when Daddy wasn't sending the checks, Grandpa and I were paying for everything. I said, we don't have
How
any
old is
more
this
money.
child? How
She's
old
8
is-
years old, and I said, Jesse, I said, now your mommy is getting all of your daddy's child support,
Which
the
I am
current
not.
plus the back child support. I wish I could,
Miss
Jesse.
O'Connell, that is not a discussion that you have with an 8-year-old. Children should never, ever be involved with the finances in a family. Children, all they hear is, there's friction in my family, it's all over money,
Children
my
should
daddy.
never be heard then. Children.
Right. You're absolutely right. So even though you started out with, I love you very much, you did something very hurtful. Don't show me anything yet.
May I say one thing, Your Honor?
I'm not finished with
I'm
her.
sorry.
So sometimes adults don't always do the right thing, either.
This is what I'm saying. I'm very afraid.
They're not going to do it anymore. Promise?
Promise.
Promise?
Definitely promise, Your Honor.
Promise.
I love them to death. I love my
Promise.
grandchildren so much.
Maybe they didn't realize that it was hurtful to her, but they really have to have sort of a regular.
Yes.
You have any
I
problem
agree.
with that?
I know, I totally agree. I never did have a problem. They've always had the right to see, like I said, the kids. I never put the kids in the middle.
Good.
My understanding is that the children are not living with Lisa's mother any
They are
longer.
living with my mother.
Well, do you live with your mother?
Yes.
What makes you think not?
My son, when he came down for a visit, he went over there and says that Lisa is getting another apartment somewhere. She's been saving the child support money to get an apartment.
Listen to me. There ain't that much to save.
Thank you.
She's not becoming rich
No one
on
said
the
she's
amount of
becoming
child support that your son is sending to her. Believe me. Listen to me, folks. These children are the innocents. And whatever other agendas everybody has, you have to make sure that the innocents aren't made to feel any worse. Here, they had a wonderful relationship with you. All of a sudden, that's taken away from them because of a dispute amongst adults having nothing to do with them. So these children, if you want them to grow up emotionally secure, you better stop the bickering. Now, Miss Cruz, you owe the O'Connells some money, okay? Because I find that this was not a gift, but it was a loan that they made to you as you could repay them. Now I'm going to hear your counterclaim. Let me hear it.
Your Honor, first of all, I gave in my car when I first moved to Florida in order to get another car. Because of my divorce with my ex-husband and loans that he had, my credit history is no good. They, in turn, say, we will put the car under our name and you make all the payments. Well, Your Honor, that's exactly what I did. Now, when they turned around and got angry with my mom for the jealousy bit with the grandma thing, they went and they stole the car. We went outside and the car was gone.
Okay, you took it back. When did you take it back?
Okay, we took it back August 1st of this year, and the reason that we took it back, Your Honor, is because She had said to my husband, I don't want anything to do with you. I'm not paying you any more monies. Leave me alone. Don't have anything to do with me.
So you acknowledge that she had made all the payments on this car?
All the payments except for one, Your Honor.
Okay.
She made all the payments except for one.
For virtually all the payments on this car. Is that right?
Correct.
So the reason you took it back is because she said to you, I'm not giving you any more money.
Exactly. Correct.
What did you do with the car?
We have it. We're using it.
Did that leave her without a car?
Yes, it did leave her without a car.
Why would you do that?
Because she said to me she's not giving us any more money. She's not making any more payments to us.
So you took back the car?
Yes.
As payment for this loan?
No, Your Honor.
Separate.
No, Your Honor, it's separate.
No, Your Honor, they
No, it's not separate.
Yes, it is, Your Honor. She had abused privileges that I gave her. She was ruining my credit with FPL. She
Your
ruined,
Honor, I have
she ruined my
No,
credit.
I'm talking about car.
Okay.
Car.
Nope.
Car. How much did you invest in the car in total?
$3,000, Your Honor. And
No,
every
Your
single
Honor,
thing
that's
is
not
here.
true.
Yes,
That's
it
not
is.
true, Your Honor.
Every money order's here. You can
Your
count
Honor,
it
that's not
yourself.
true, Your Honor.
You can count it yourself, Your Honor.
That's not true.
Well, how much?
Your
Let me
Honor?
ask you this question: how much money do you say that she has paid into the car?
Okay, $231 for 9 payments. So she used the car in June and hasn't paid me money for that.
that money.
No. Don't fight, please. I didn't want there to be any fighting. You also include your insurance in
Yes,
that bill.
that's
I'm just
not
talking about the car payments.
And that's not counting my car that I gave in, the 1994 Taurus.
And how much did you get for that?
$400 they put towards the bill of the car.
Okay. So all this started a whole bunch of problems. All started because you say your mother-in-law, they got jealous. She wanted you to charge your mother rent in order to pay her back faster. You said no. They got annoyed. To make a long story short, you've paid in $2,079 on the car. In addition, $400 you got as a trade-in for your old car. You had the use of this car, but you took this car back sort of in partial payment of whatever debt she owed you. So I'm deducting that from the cost of the $5,000. And I want to tell you something else. I think that you're not being terribly smart, the O'Connells. If Miss Cruz is saying what she means, which is she cares for you both, and that she's really very sorry for all of these bad things that happened between the two of you, and these are your only 3 grandchildren, I would, as my grandson would say, suck it up. Because I think you're making a big mistake for taking this any further. In any event, I find that she does not owe you the $5,000 that you're requesting. I am doing a set-off with the counterclaim. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,571. That is it.
We're also suing for our computer, Your Honor, which she has that we want back.
They gave
Just
that
a
to their
second.
grandson.
Goodbye.
You may step out. This is case number 257 on the calendar in the matter of Lamont versus Williford. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Miss Lamont, according to the complaint, the defendant is your ex-boyfriend and you claim that you loaned him some money.
Yes.
Defendant says that you actually owe him money because a while ago you wrecked his car or truck. First, tell me about this truck. You were driving his truck. Under what circumstances?
I believe it was in March of 2000.
Yes.
He drove me to Sacramento to go to court there. And on our way
What?
back, I had lived in Sacramento and I received a ticket that I had to go back and pay when I had returned to LA.
Okay.
And on the way back, he asked me to drive so he could sleep. And so I drove. And on the way back, to avoid getting in an accident, I swerved off the road and hit a guardrail.
And there was damage to his car.
Yeah. And he never asked me to fix it.
That's a lie. That's a lie. Man. Cold-hearted. She's lying, Your Honor. I'm
Are
just
you
trying-
finished?
Yeah, I'm finished. As long as you are.
We're going to have a problem.
You take any prescribed medication, sir?
No, ma'am, I ain't on no...
Quiet. You take any prescribed medication?
No, ma'am, I ain't on no
You-
prescribed medication.
You take any other kind of medication?
No, ma'am.
Then behave yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of car was it that was in this accident?
A Ford Ranger.
What year?
99, I believe.
There came a time when you gave him some money towards having the car fixed, according to you. $1,500?
It actually, because I had wrecked the car and he had never asked me to repay him, I decided that when I got the money that I received in a settlement, that I would take it upon myself to take responsibility for the fact that I did crash his truck, and I gave him $1,500.
Okay, that's not the money that you're suing for.
No.
What money are you suing for?
At the same time that I gave him the $1,500, he also asked to borrow $2,000 because he had gotten into some trouble.
What kind of trouble? Doesn't surprise me.
You know, I don't exactly know, but...
What do you think? Tell me what you think, Miss Lamont.
He had gotten in trouble with the drug dealer.
And he needed $2,000.
Yes.
Did he tell you what would happen to him if he didn't give this drug dealer $2,000?
You know, I could only assume at that time from...
So you gave him the $2,000. That's the money that you're suing for.
That I loaned him, yes.
Now, you had a '99 automobile in the year 2000. Had you purchased it for payments, or had you paid cash for it?
I paid payments, man.
So if you made payments on the car, the bank requires that you have insurance.
That's correct.
And did you have the car fixed after it was in the accident?
Yes, ma'am. I have the papers right here to show that.
He didn't have insurance.
What?
He didn't have insurance.
Well,
he didn't have his license.
You weren't even driving. It ain't your car. You don't know.
Don't speak to her. Remember what I said. Mr. Williford tells me he had insurance, which he must do by law if he's got a financed car. Isn't that right, Bert?
That's absolutely right, Judge.
And I assume that if you had a financed car, they allow you to have some sort of a deductible, usually $500. Is that
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
So you had out-of-pocket expense of $500.
No, that's wrong.
Well, how could it be wrong, sir? That's the way insurance works.
Well, I didn't go through insurance, man, because she was an unlicensed driver, and she had made the promise to me that she was going to pay me back the damage. Here's the estimate from the car.
No.
She was
That's
gonna
what
pay
you
me.
have insurance for, Mr. Williford.
Yeah, but then your insurance claims go up. I gotta pay more per month. It wasn't worth it. I'd rather pay the cash and get it fixed at the dealership.
Is that what you did?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. And that's what your choice was. If you asked the plaintiff to drive your car, and according to you, you knew she was an unlicensed driver, then you took that risk. And if you choose not to go through your insurance, she would certainly be liable for the $500 deductible, because that would have been your out-of-pocket expense. You chose not to do that. Now, in addition to the $1,500 that she gave you to fix the car, you said she gave you another $2,000. What do you claim that was for, Mr. Williford?
I had the $2,000 that she gave me was for fixing my car, a down payment towards the $4,800 total damage. I don't know about no $1,500. I only know about $2,000.
Your Honor, I have the return check.
May I see it, please?
It's for $3,100, and also there, and these are the statements.
Well, $2,000 and $1,500 does not add up to $3,100. Even I know that.
My money was in my mom's account. Since I had already given him $400, I was only going to give him $1,100 to total $1,500 for what I was giving him, plus the $2,000 he wanted to borrow.
I got you. To the best of your knowledge, has Mr. Williford had any other trouble with drug dealers?
Probably. That was his lifestyle.
Even when you were together?
I had moved away to Sacramento, and in that time, 6 months period, when I came back, he was a total different person.
Different, not for the better?
No.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Williford?
I'm a musician, ma'am.
You work regularly?
Yes, ma'am.
Where?
Different studios. I'm working on recording a demo right now.
Is there any record that you ever made that Bird might have heard of?
A record that I made that Bert might have heard of? No, ma'am, I haven't released anything yet.
So who pays you?
My corporation that I work with, people that I'm talking to.
And what kind of musician are you?
I'm a rapper, man.
Bird and I don't know about that.
Oh, man, you're missing out. You don't know, hip-hop is live.
I know. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Excuse you,
All
step
right,
out.
kid. Let's go. Everything's all good, man. I'm taking care of my life. I'm going on. It's all good.
Yeah, I needed to get the money that I helped him out with, and he needs to take responsibility for it.
Probably be a loser.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Olshansky versus Longo. Step forward, please.
Administrative Assistant Elaine Olshansky is suing former friend, 23-year-old interior decorator Jason Longo, for a refund of his fee and for damage to her home. Jason is countersuing for the unpaid portion of his fee.
Ms. Olshansky, you hired the defendant to do some painting in your house.
Correct.
And paid him some $2,200. It's your claim that he did a lousy job. You want your money back, and not only do you want your money back, you want him to pay you to have some of the work that he did treated by somebody else. So you're suing him for even more than what you paid him. Mr. Longo said that he did a fine job, that you're angry about something else, and he was a friend of one of your children's. Is that right? That's how you knew him?
Correct.
Had he had experience in the painting and decorating business?
I was told he did.
How much work was he supposed to do?
He was supposed to do my dining room, and then we agreed verbally that he would do some extra painting.
Tell me what he was supposed to do, Miss Olshansky. Not just your dining room for $2,200. Come on.
What he did is he painted the dining room, and he painted the trim in the living room, and he had my son help him with...
What other rooms did he paint?
The living room and the hallway. And upstairs in our bathroom, he painted the bathroom vanity.
What work did you do in her house?
Our original agreement was to work on the dining room, which is where I started. As I was working on the dining room...
Okay, what were you supposed to do in the dining room?
The dining room, we were trying to remake the whole thing. She had gorgeous furniture to begin with. We were just removing the wallpaper that was existing.
Okay, so let's start that. You were removing wallpaper.
Yes.
What's next?
We decided on a color scheme for the dining room and a finish that we wanted to do in the lower half. Basically planned out the lighting fixture that we wanted and the colors that were going to be in the room, especially the lower half. We decided to do a faux finish and put a chair rail in the center.
Just a second. Now, then you did a living room trim.
Yes, I did, at no charge.
And hall.
I did the crown molding in the hall.
And what about the vanity upstairs?
The vanity was part of our original agreement to do with the dining room. When she approached me about the dining room, she also said she was remodeling both bathrooms upstairs, and she had asked me what we could do with the vanity, and it was a wood, but because of the heat steam damage, it was kind of tarnished, so we decided to paint it, and we used a metallic paint to mimic the border tile that was upstairs.
Your Honor, it wasn't damaged. My upstairs vanity was not damaged. It was in perfect finish because he didn't prime that either. He just painted right over it very nicely.
Yes, and your original agreement was $2,200, is that right?
Yes. The work also included, though, the solarium room in the back of the house, which what happened was we started doing work in the dining room, and then as I was working in the dining room, Mrs. Olshansky purchased furniture for, I believe it was the living room, but decided that it wasn't going to work out, so we decided to redo their solarium area in the back. That was also included in the price that she paid me, and that was mainly interior decorating. There was no painting done out there. It was just making it into kind of like a cluttered area, into like a nice sitting room with new furniture, accessories, and
So what
such.
did you do in that area?
No painting was done, just accessorizing, purchasing accessories.
That's what you did?
That's correct.
Okay. So that sounds like a reasonable amount of money, $2,200. So what are you complaining about?
The paint is all peeling
Let me
everywhere
see.
he painted. I have many pictures.
Let me see where it's peeling.
Your Honor, I also have pictures of the before work and the during stage process work. I was not allowed to photograph the after work. The plaintiff did not allow me back into her home to do so.
You never asked.
Shh. This is an outside picture, is that right?
No, it isn't. That's the
That's
back
the
porch.
solarium.
Those are the wires hanging where he did wiring, and it caught on fire because he only used electrical tape and wired 3 wires together, and it caught on fire.
Your Honor, that's not true.
Yes, it is, Your Honor. It's true.
Your Honor, I have a degree in fire protection technology, and I've been in school and been with the fire service for 6 years. It's not true.
Who did the wiring,
Okay.
Jason?
You have a fire marshal's report?
No. We just
Okay.
unplugged it and put the fire out.
I have no idea where you say the paint is peeling. You show me in those at the blow-ups.
Your Honor,
These
would you
are
like to see my pictures?
Yeah. I find it very hard to look at these blow-ups, so don't show me your... Don't you have regular pictures?
I use a digital camera, so I have to print them out. The
Wow.
first set of pictures starts with the dining room before. Your Honor, her son also helped me paint. I'd like to see the pictures to make sure that's my work.
Absolutely. Well, whether it's your work or her son's work, it doesn't make any difference. You were the contractor.
Your Honor, I also have estimates.
For what?
To repair the damage that was done.
I'm not going to give you any amount of money to repair damage. I've seen the photographs. If you're not satisfied with the job that he did, I suggest you not give him any recommendation.
The pictures show peeling paint. It's latex painted over oil base, which peels like rubber.
Ma'am, this is the letter from the company that I use.
Put it down. Where was the paint peeling? In what room?
every room at every spot, it peels off because it's latex over oil. I have.
What do you mean every room and every spot?
All
I've
of
seen.
them.
Look, listen to me.
All the trim
I
work,
saw
just the
these-
trim. Just the trim is painted latex over oil. And I asked him, I questioned him. I said, I don't believe that you can put latex over oil. And he said, you can as long as you prepare properly.
Your Honor, that was her initial concern, and I did acknowledge that that was an issue that we had to take into account. However, I knew that you could paint latex over oil paint. The dining room was sanded down. The other rooms I cannot account for because I came in midway through the whole situation.
Which other rooms?
The dining room was the only room I personally painted myself completely.
No, you painted all of the trim in the living room, and you had Peter, without charge, help you get through painting
Right, and
the
I was
hallway.
also without charge helping the hallway and the living room.
You know, charges...
Just a second. Is that true?
If
That
you-
your original estimate was for the dining room and the
Upstairs
vanity.
Correct.
And the other
And the
trim
decorations
that
were-
he did either helping you out with your son or whoever else was helping him out. Was it your son who was helping him?
Yes.
And that was as a favor?
No, the work wasn't as a favor.
That's a lie.
He agreed to paint in those rooms also.
That is not true.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
If you're not satisfied, don't give him a recommendation, Miss Olshansky.
Your Honor,
That's all.
what happened was...
That's what? Listen to me. You're not losing.
I understand.
You had some sort of a falling out that involves a social issue, which you seem to suggest here, involving her son, that has absolutely nothing to do with me, that has nothing to do with this case. Ms. Olshansky is complaining about a subjective look at work, which she says is below par. And I'm saying, based on what I see, the rooms as painted look just fine to me.
It's just the trim, not the wall.
Well, they get somebody to fix the trim. And what are you suing him for $3,000 for, which is more than even you paid him?
That's what the estimates are.
Get your son to do it. Strip down the trim if you're not happy with it and repaint it in either latex or flat or whatever color you like.
Your Honor, may I say something?
You had practically your whole house done. Don't say anything. You're not losing. What's your problem?
I just want to let her know she had complained about the amount that I had charged her, and she was saying that I basically owed her to do the rest of the rooms and that I owed her to do the repairs based off the amount that that I charged her for. And I have I have documents that show that she has discounts in excess of $2,500 that I had given her because she was a friend of mine. So if she's saying that I overcharged her, it's completely untrue.
Just a second. She's not complaining you overcharged her,
She's
sir.
complaining.
She's not complaining that you overcharged her. She knows that for the amount of work she had done in her house, she was getting a bargain. She knows that. Her problem is the bargain turned out to be not such a bargain because she
nightmare.
wasn't happy with some of the trim work that was done. For that, you don't sue. Goodbye.
Yeah, this is case number 92 on the calendar in the matter of Malavenda versus Breen. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Malavenda, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you on an airplane.
That's correct.
The defendant says it was just a tap. And he is counterclaiming for ruining the vacation he was planning with his wife, including the loss of some theater tickets because he was hauled off of this plane and he missed his theater and he ruined his vacation. Is that right, Mr. Breen?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Tell me when this incident occurred.
On December the 1st of year 2001,
Where were you going?
to Las Vegas
And where were you boarding the plane?
at Lindbergh Field in San Diego.
Okay. Tell me what happened, sir.
At 12 o'clock, we boarded the plane. I say we, it's Dane, Lay, and myself. And we sat down, and there was a...
Did you have assigned seats?
No, there are no assigned seating. We had boarding cards, and we had sat down. It was in the middle of the plane. 15, 20 minutes later, they announced there was a mechanical. Would everybody deplane, leave their luggage, and return to the same seat? It would take no longer than an hour. At that time, we did. And we came back within the hour, and they said, well, it's going to take longer to get the part than we thought it was. So they said, we're going to take another piece of equipment. Everybody go to gate 6.
Another piece of equipment, meaning another plane?
A plane, yes, ma'am. Then at that point, both my friend and I went to gate 6. They opened up the gates, and they said, don't worry about seats, just grab the first seat you come to.
It was the same airlines?
Yes.
Quiet.
And
Not assigned seats?
No, ma'am. There was no assigned seats.
Okay.
So I approached, and the first row was taken, the second row was taken, the third row wasn't. So I let my friend, he doesn't fly that often, I said, go ahead and take the window seat, Dane, because you don't fly. I think he's flown once in his life. He says, fine. So I sat in the middle. I buckled in, and then at that point, the row of the stream of people are coming in. Then this gentleman comes up to me, and he says, you're in my seat. Move. Not please, not anything. And I laughed. I thought he was kidding, like, hey, this is first class, isn't it? You're in my seat. I thought he was, kidding. So at that point, I laughed. And I said, you got to be kidding. That's exactly what I said. You got to be kidding. And at that point, he smacked me on top of the head. And it was so hard, they heard it in the back of the plane. And it
What did he
dazed me.
smack you with?
At that time, I didn't know. I was told it was a book. And I don't know if the palm of the back of his hand hit me. I don't know if the book hit me. I do not know. At that point, he also made the statement, wait until I meet you in Vegas, or wait until I see you in Vegas. It took 5 seconds. And he kept on walking, and I said, I want that blank out of here. And the flight attendant came over, and I explained to her what had happened. They called the harbor police. They went to get him, and they got the wrong person at first. And, and then the party who was facing me, she spoke up. She says, I work for the San Diego Police Department, indicating that she wasn't a police officer, but she worked for them. And she said, I can identify him. And that she got up and went back and identified him, and then he was removed from the aircraft. A few minutes went by, they came and got me. I exited the plane. Would you like to sign a complaint? And I said, yes, I would. And at that point, that was the end of that incident. Got back on the plane, we went to Vegas, and he shows up the same hotel I'm at. Coincidence, and there's no way he would know. So apparently it was coincidence. But in my mind, I don't know how his mind's working, and I don't know what is going through it. So I avoided him.
Did you follow through with the complaint, sir?
Yes, I did.
What happened with that complaint?
They dismissed it because it was just too costly to go ahead and prosecute him.
Because you had no serious injuries.
I was dazed and I have constant headaches, but that's beside the,
Okay, fine. Now I'll hear your end of the story.
Well, it was also December 1st. It was, we got there at 9:15 for a 12:30 flight. There are no assigned seating, as he says. It's a cattle call. We had boarding passes number 2 and 3 because we had been there since 9:30 in the morning waiting for the 12:30 flight. We boarded the plane, and it was a mechanical problem. We were in the third seat back from the entrance of the plane at that time. They said that they were going to need to move us to another plane, and they did ask us at that time, quote, let's make this as friendly and convenient as possible. Would you all please take your current seat when we move to the new plane?
Okay.
They did repeat that several times while we were...
Yes, ma'am.
They did repeat that several times while we were changing from one plane to another. Got onto the plane. I don't believe I've ever seen this gentleman before in my life. Whether he was in the window seat, I don't know. This gentleman and his friend who was in the windows...
Try looking at me when you're testifying, sir.
Sorry, in the aisle seat. I asked him to move. I did say, you're in my seats. What do you think you're doing? Move. He laughed, said, what, are you kidding me? No way, not going to happen. Waved me to go to the back of the plane. I asked him again to move. He continued to laugh in my face. I did at that point lean over the back of the seats in front of him and did mention that when we reached Las Vegas, he might prefer to have me as his friend. Not the most intelligent thing that I've ever done, but that is what I said. At that point, he stood up and said, oh, come on, I'll be your friend. Come to my hotel. I'll buy you a drink. We'll have a great time.
You're lying. That's a lie.
No, I'm not.
No, that's a lie. That's not even in your answer. That's not even in your answer, sir. Don't make up stories as we're moving along here. Don't make up stories as you move. He's sitting in his seat. He's buckled in. You lean over. And what you said in your answer was you acted foolishly, but you tapped him with the soft end of a paperback book.
After he stood up and had words with me and was in my face laughing, waved me to the back of the plane one more time. Yes, he was standing up to provoke me. And yes,
he was provoking you? Are you out of your mind? I mean, are you out of your mind? Is there something chronically wrong with you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You saw what he did. What did you say to him?
I didn't say much. I was
shocked. You were shocked. You said to him, what's wrong with you? Does he have a bad temper?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tony Malabenda says fellow passenger Robert Breen assaulted him on an airplane. Tony claims Robert thumped him on the head with a book.
Now, sir, you put your hands on somebody over a seat in a plane? Is there something wrong with you?
Ma'am, after a 3-hour wait to get onto the plane.
Everybody waited for 3 hours. Everybody had a deep plane. Everybody.
Yes, ma'am.
You weren't the only one. You weren't taking a private plane, were you?
No.
So you're getting on a plane. Somebody is sitting in a row that you had been on in a previous plane. You told them to move. They didn't move, and you hit them. That's what happened. I mean, that's the long and short of it. You can't do that. I mean, what did you say to him? You're his wife. What did you say to him?
I was ahead of him in line, and I didn't actually speak to my husband. I was watching the situation.
Stand up here. You get back in your seat. You saw what he did. What did you say to him?
I didn't say much. I was...
Shocked?
Yes.
You were shocked?
I was shocked at the actions of both men, but
No!
it escalated to what it had.
You were shocked. You said to him, what's wrong with you? Does he have a bad temper?
No, not really.
Not really. I doubt
He
that.
needs to be provoked, but...
By being provoked, it means somebody was sitting in row 3? That was his provocation for hitting somebody?
The gentleman was pushing his buttons. He was...
No. He said, you're in my seat, move. He said, I'm not moving. He said it again. Then he leans over and he said to him, when we get to Vegas, you want to be my friend. That's a threat. That's before anything happened. That's before he got up. So your counterclaim for your destroyed vacation is dismissed because you deserve to have a destroyed vacation. Now, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
You're suing the defendant for $5,000. That's overkill.
Yes, ma'am.
Big time. You weren't injured, but he certainly has to be taught that this is not behavior that is acceptable. What are all these papers that you have to show me? I'm just curious.
These are the police report and the witness's report.
Let me just take a look at it quickly.
And my witness off. Yes, ma'am.
You know, Mr. Breen, you don't look like an unintelligent man, bad-tempered, but not unintelligent. You just recounted to me what you said exactly. You made up this whole big story about what he said to you, and that he got up and he was confrontational, and you made a whole story, right, about what he said to you.
I didn't make a story at all, Your
Yeah,
Honor.
sure you did. And you remembered it, and you recounted it. How many months later? 6, 7, 8 months later, you recounted that statement to me as if it was gospel truth. Is that right, sir?
That's what happened on the plane, Your Honor.
All right. So what I'm suggesting to you, sir, is do you think one's memory becomes clearer as time goes on, or do you think it becomes dull?
It becomes a little dulled.
Of course. So I'm going to read you what the police said. Police said, suspect Breen made the following statement, and then it talks about having to deplane one plane for another, and you were told to take the same seats. Breen asked him to move, and Malavenda laughed and refused. As Breen was walking away, and this is your statement, Malavenda made a smart comment which Breen could not recall. So you're saying you're one of the few people who, after a period of time, without hypnosis, without truth serum, things become clearer than they were on the day of the incident. So to the police, you couldn't recall what he said to you, but to me, 8 months later, you recall every word. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The way he said, you're in my seat, get out. I laughed. I thought the gentleman was kidding.
I was wrong to hit him.
I saw him hit Tony upside the head very hard with a paperback book.
This book, on the open part, pretty much like that.
Xin chào các bạn. Hôm nay mình sẽ tô màu 3 chú cá voi đang bơi dưới nước. Vậy là mình đã hoàn thiện xong bức tranh tô màu những chú cá voi đang bơi ở dưới nước. Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn ở những video tiếp theo.